There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam, all right? Let's go.
Here's the reality. 7 million followers, whether you think it's cringe or you like it, we're on CNN on a Thursday night, and we're talking about it on national TV.
But I guess my question is, to what end? I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I mean, maybe you will get 7 million eyeballs. But
I am not accustomed to helping your party do anything.
Yep.
But let me give you some advice. This was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And if you read the comments today, Lord have mercy. Look, scrambling for new social media and communication strategies is not a replacement for fixing what's actually wrong. Your party has a 21% approval rating right now, congressional Democrats.
But let's talk about fixing what's wrong. Donald Trump is doing nothing for the American people.
And he has a 50% approval rating.
But he's doing nothing for the American people.
I don't know how the Democrats came to appoint Jasmine Crockett as the unquestioned leader of your party, but thank God. And I think what she should do is go on TV twice as much as she is right now, maybe 3 times as much, because every time she appears and makes one of these mistakes, says something radical, it only further divides her party from the rest of the other 80% of America who can't stand this. But the problem is there's an audience for it. I heard Jimmy Kimmel's audience cheering on Tesla vandalism. I hear the Daily Show audience cheering on attacks on Elon Musk. I hear the human rights audience cheering on an attack on a man in a wheelchair. And I realize this is what the left has become. An angry mob of people who are cheering on attacks on a guy in a wheelchair and vandalism against people who bought a Tesla. It's pathetic. No lesson could ever be learned as long as you're doing these things in front of audiences who roar when you do it. When you have comedians who are broad messengers for the left making unfair jokes and people are roaring, when you have politicians.
Austin City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson has just been taken into custody.
Here's video from moments ago of the FBI outside a Dorchester home. We told you earlier this week the city councilor is under federal investigation, but neither she nor the city would tell us why. Officials cited the U.S. Attorney's Office, saying the integrity of a grand jury investigation would be impaired by disclosing information.
Fernandez Anderson has represented District 7 since 2021 and has faced several scandals. Last year, the State Ethics Commission found she violated the conflict of interest law by hiring her sister and son and raising their salaries. Fernandez Anderson agreed to pay a $5,000 fine. Just last month, the State Office of Campaign and Political Finance sent her campaign a letter saying it had not timely filed deposit information and had taken contributions over the legal limit. Once again, Boston City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson has just been taken into custody by the FBI outside her Dorchester home.
Right now at noon, the Georgia State Supreme Court ruling Douglas County probate judge Christina Peterson be removed from the bench. According to a decision issued today, Peterson violated multiple rules in the Code of Judicial Conduct. This decision comes days after Peterson was arrested at a nightclub in Buckhead. Good afternoon. I'm Rick Fulbaum.
And I'm Lana Harris. So Peterson now faces 2 charges: simple battery against a police officer and felony willful obstruction of law enforcement by use of threats of violence. The Georgia Supreme Court says Peterson is not eligible to be elected or appointed to any judicial office in the state for at least 7 years. Peterson's lawyer says the charges against her should be dropped and that she is now, and I quote, evaluating her next steps.
Tiffany Henyard, former mayor of Dolton, Illinois, faced significant political and legal challenges in early 2025. In February, she suffered a landslide defeat in the Democratic primary, securing only 536 votes against challenger Jason House's 3,896. This loss followed investigations into her alleged reckless spending, including accusations of using town credit cards for personal expenses and lavish trips, contributing to a financial deficit in Dolton. Additionally, on February 25th, federal authorities issued a subpoena seeking records related to a development project involving Henyard's boyfriend, Kamal Woods, as part of a broader probe into her administration's activities. These events culminated in a significant shift in Dolton's leadership and ongoing federal scrutiny.
You cannot just go and say, I like it, it's mine now. It doesn't work that way. Well, that is what they're trying to do. And in this new world order, yeah, absolutely. When they're looking at Greenland and say, I like it, I want to take it for mine, that is a very colonized
You have said you are pro.
I have never ever said we're going to go to Greenland and quote colonize it or steal it.
You're not a member of government, so you're irrelevant at that point. I'm talking about the president of the United States doing that.
You got fired from your job.
You can agitate.
If you want to engage in personal insults,
I don't, but you
what
do.
you lack in the legitimate point, you make up for in personal
I don't. You
personal
do.
insults. The point I am making is in this new world order, we are looking at countries, whether or not they're an adversary or ally, it is being determined on what kind of deal we can get. And we cannot govern, we cannot legislate that way. We are increasingly isolated on the world stage.
No, we're not.
So if you want to engage in personal insults,
we're not
if I were you, I would reserve that for your party who is increasingly isolated. This will, our position
outside of the United
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this video finds you. Welcome to Tix. Woo! Well, the weekend has been, huh? Little collage there of all the DEI failures going on here in America. So, oh my God, where do we start? Let's start with the silly little teenager who killed his parents. What up, AB? And yes, that pizza was good. That's from one of the best pizza joints here in Atlanta. They have a very it's funny how like some of the best spots, the best little eateries have the most messed up parking spots. I mean, the parking lot in that place, the way it is, where it is in Atlanta, it's in one of the busiest streets of Atlanta that's got a 5-way triangular street, is right there on the corner. In their parking spot, they have to share their parking lot with three other businesses. Woo! But I was able to get in and out. It was like, so I ordered it. As soon as I walked in, showed the guy my app, they had threw my pizza on the takeout thing. Boom, the little Hispanic guy. I'm not going to say whether he spoke English or not, but all I can say is that he gave me my smoking hot pizza, and that sucker is delicious. At any rate, so let's get into this psycho who killed his parents trying to fund his way to assassinating Trump and J.D. Vance, trying to start a race war. And I need for Black folks to understand is that these are not conservatives or Republicans that are doing this. These are the very people that you associate with as Democrats who are doing these things. These are Democrats that are out here attacking both Black, white, Hispanic, whatever, Asian people's Teslas, punching grandmas in the face. Notice that people that are in the car that they attack women who are in their cars. They attack people with children in their cars. Or they call themselves trying to do it undercover. Personally, if I'm Pam Bondi, if you mess around and brain one of these people after you've caught them damaging your Tesla, no charges filed. No charges filed, because I mean, screw all of this, just charging these people with vandalism and $1,000 fine and all that stuff. It should be an automatic mandatory minimum 5-year sentence. You trying to key swastikas on people's cars? I'm sorry, that's a terrorist act. There is no, well, the local government will just charge you with a fine and make you pay for a paint job and all. No, you need to go to jail for a minimum 5 years. That's the only thing that will stop these people. Just stop them. And if anybody brains one of these idiots after they caught them keying their car, no charges filed. No charges filed. The federal government will pick up the case, not the local, and we drop all charges because you were defending yourself against a terrorist act. We did label the KKK a domestic terrorist organization, right? Right? The Democratic organization of the Ku Klux Klan, are they not domestic terrorists? So if you mess around there, somebody in some white robes and some white hoods come onto your property, and you send about 5 or 6 of them to go meet their maker, or to come pay Lucifer a visit, whatever, no charges filed. You were being attacked by domestic terrorists, correct? I don't care whether they fired the shot or not. They had no business stepping onto your property. Clearly, they weren't there to sell you Girl Scout cookies. So you should be able to go ahead and hey, Kool-Aid Man their outfits. Yes? Same thing. Or these people who are in protest who feel like they need to get violent. They should also 5-year mandatory minimum, especially against people who are reporters. The U.S. government under Donald Trump labeled anybody the free press, anybody with a microphone, a YouTube channel, whatever, and you're reporting on the news, any attack on any reporter, mandatory minimum 5-year sentence for domestic terrorism. If I was to go out here and brain a reporter that's on national TV, if I was to clock them in the head, would I not be facing serious federal charges? Would I not be facing felonies? Same thing. So if I go out here with my mic to somebody downtown Atlanta sitting up here doing a protest and I ask them questions and some moron put their hands on me, good luck to them. They should be facing a mandatory 5-year minimum for a felony for attacking a journalist. What's up, Audrey? El Kabong. What's up, Unsunken One? So let's get to it. Let's get into this goofy kid and what he did.
And new developments tonight in the double murder of a Waukesha couple, their teenage son under arrest. Prosecutors say Nikita Kasap shot and killed his mom and stepfather back in February. Today, a commissioner says the state has enough evidence for the case to go to trial. 12 News' Hannah Hilliard is live at the Waukesha County Courthouse tonight. And Hannah, we heard from a detective on the case today.
We sure did, Blake. It is the first time we've heard from a detective in this case. He was here at the courthouse today detailing the evidence they've collected against 17-year-old Nikita Kasap. And now we are learning the teen could be facing more charges. Waukesha West student Nikita Kasap handcuffed and in court Wednesday.
The matter is scheduled here today for preliminary hearings.
As for the first time, we hear from one of the detectives on the case.
With regard to victim A, what was the cause of death?
Homicide due to gunshot wound to the head.
Waukesha County Sheriff Detective Ross Seitz says Kasap's mom, Tatiana Kasap, and her husband, Donald Mayer, were likely shot and killed inside their home on February 11th. Investigators believe the teen then continued to live in the home for another 12 days. The criminal complaint saying video evidence shows Kasap in the same room as his stepfather's body to, quote, keep candles lit or adjust the camera. Deputies discovering the couple dead and decomposing on February 28th.
Things had been emptied from drawers and closets. Things were all over the floor. Victim B body was appeared to have been deceased for some time, was unable to definitively identify who it was.
Detective Seitz says Kasap was eventually arrested in Kansas with his stepfather's car, gun, 70 pieces of jewelry, and
there was roughly $14,000 found in the vehicle. I believe 8 of it was 8 was possibly found in a Bible.
The defense asked to dismiss the charges, but with evidence for all 9 felony charges presented Wednesday.
In fact, that's more detail than I would typically get at a preliminary hearing.
And with possibly more charges coming, the commissioner says the case can continue.
Following, there's probable cause to believe that this defendant committed all of these counts, all these felonies. So I'll order him bound over for trial.
And so, Hannah, do we know what these additional charges could be?
So, Blake, I did ask the district attorney that here this morning. She says they would likely be related to some electronic downloads they're still waiting to receive. In the meantime, Kassab, he is still being held in custody here in Waukesha on a $1 million bond.
All right, Hannah Hill, you're reporting live in Waukesha for.
Yeah, this idiot, excuse me, this idiot was going to buy some drones and try to assassinate Trump and JD Vance. So, his whole plan was, you say, yeah, the Ukrainian contact. Yeah, like, I don't know why the news, I was trying to find more media on this, but they're trying to keep it silent. Let me see. Hold on. Because I'm not going to sit up here and let them get away with this. I'm not going to let them get away with this. Oh, no. Let's see here. Yeah, he was trying to fund killing Trump. Trying to assassinate Trump and them to start some freaking waste war. Hold on. Where's the fine? News. Okay, hold on. Give a damn that some millionaires went to space. See here. Yeah, this guy was a moron. He was a moron of the highest order. But what do you get when this is what happens when you let the media just continually pump fear and stupidity into people's heads? Eventually they start crashing out and they start doing dumb stuff like this. Let me see here. Oh wow, they cover everything except for what's supposed to be covered. Let's see here. Hold on. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. Anytime. Here we go. All right. So no, I'm just trying to get rid of all. Okay, so here we go. All right, so here we go. Federal authorities accuse Kassab of planning his parents' murders, buying a drone and explosives, and sharing his plans with others, including a Russian speaker. His intentions are detailed in a 3-page anti-Semitic manifesto praising Adolf Hitler. The warrant filed at the federal court in Milwaukee also contains excerpts of communications on TikTok and the Telegram Messenger app. Kassab appears to have written a manifest. Make sure y'all can see that. I'm sorry. Okay. You say you want to blame Russia, though. That's about right. Kassab appears to have written a manifest calling for the assassination of the president of the United States. He was in touch with other parties about his plan to kill the president and overthrow the government of the United States, the search warrant says. The killing of his parents appeared to be an effort to obtain the financial means and autonomy necessary to carry out his plan. In court, prosecutors allege Kassab was in touch with a person who speaks Russian and shared a plan to flee to Ukraine. So it was somebody that was Ukrainian. Authorities found him in Kansas with money, passports, a car, and the family's dog. Whose passports? I hope he does understand that even though you have fake passports, they now scan your passports. So if you call yourself trying to go overseas with a fake passport, the scanner will automatically detect that you have a fake passport. Wow, this is not the James Bond 1960s days, bro. Federal prosecutors allege Katz's manifesto outlined his reasons for wanting to kill Trump and included ideas about how we would live in Ukraine. Citing Katz's writings, the federal warrant said the teenager wanted to spur government collapse by getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president. And you know, the funny thing about it is I was talking to little homeboy Mosh about this like less than an hour ago. And we were talking about how the former Nazis from Germany, how they fled to not only South America, but also to Ukraine. That's why if you actually pay attention to some of the videos of Ukrainians, especially their soldiers or whatnot, they're doing the Nazi, like the real Nazi salute. Not no, my heart goes out to you, but like the real thing, you know, and saying their rhetoric because they're the grandchildren of Nazis. They're the descendants of actual literal Nazis. Phone and online messages seeking comment were left Sunday for Katz's public defender, Nicole Ostrowski. In court last month, she moved to dismiss some of the charges against her client, including theft, arguing that prosecutors had not laid out their case. She also noted her client's age during court proceedings, like that matters. He is young. He is still in high school, she said in March 12. Excuse me, honey. They send 16-year-olds to the federal rape house, to the federal booty hole house. Do you understand? They locked them in a cell with Fleece Johnson intentionally. Are you kidding me? They don't care how old he was. County authorities also charged Katz with hiding a corpse, theft, and misappropriating identification to obtain money. Officers found the bodies of Tatiana Katz, 35, and Mayer, 51. Oh, okay. He got him some young chick on February 28th. You know, younger than him anyway. Family members requested a well-being check after Mayer didn't report for work and Nikita Kasich skipped school for about 2 weeks. Authorities believe the parents were killed weeks earlier. Prosecutors said in court that the couple's bodies were so badly decomposed that they had to be identified through dental records. Yeah, so he was trying to start a race war in order to upset the American apple cart. Yeah, the Turner Diaries. Yeah, you're right. The Turner Diaries. That's exactly what it was. This ties into the Shapiro arson. Oh, yeah, that's next. Yikes, I just learned about Shapiro today. Who's to say the handlers didn't delete the parents? Yup, and son going hello. The whole story sounds fishy. Order of the Black Sun. They were the sun wheel ruined as insignia, excuse me. Twin lightning bolts too. Yeah, so peep this out. So here's the next story. This is the Shapiro case.
This type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society.
And keep in mind, Shapiro is a Democrat. But my thing is, I'm gonna say this right now. Here's the thing. As Democrats, you sit up here, you push the violence against Tesla. You don't denounce it. Silence is violence. Remember they used to say that as Democrats, silence is violence. And then when they ask you to denounce it, you don't say anything. You got Ratchet Crockett. I wouldn't like anything more on my birthday than to see Elon taken down. Girl, what is you talking about? If he said that, if he would have turned around the next day, I would love to see nothing more on Crockett's birthday this day than to see her taken down. Oh, it'd been a problem. But yeah, he's a Democrat. And he had another Democrat, a low IQ Democrat, a LIQD, try to kill him and his family in their sleep. I wonder why.
That is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro making public comments after police say a man threw homemade bombs into the governor's mansion on Sunday and admitted to planning to beat the governor with a hammer. Thanks for joining us for Fox 43 News. First at 4, I'm Evan Forrester. Pennsylvania State Police have released new information surrounding the suspect accused of starting a fire at the governor's mansion on Sunday morning. Fox 43's Tyler Potts joins us now live from the scene with the latest details and updated information on the suspect.
You need to condemn it immediately now.
Well, Evan, while we were waiting for his arraignment earlier today, the suspect, Cody Balmer, was transferred to an area hospital for unknown medical reasons. According to state police video from inside and outside home, captured Balmer climbing over this fence here behind me before breaking into the residence and starting the fire with homemade devices, knowing he could have hurt Governor Shapiro and anyone else who may have been inside.
Before the fire was even out, it became very apparent that this was not an ordinary fire. In a video that has not yet been released from Pennsylvania State Police, multiple security cameras captured footage showing arson suspect Cody Balmer forcing himself into the historic Pennsylvania governor's mansion and intentionally starting a fire. On Sunday morning, the city of Harrisburg and the Harrisburg Bureau of Fire were the targets, as well as the governor of Pennsylvania, of a domestic terrorism incident. According to Chief Brian Ederlein, with the city of Harrisburg Bureau of Fire, around 25 people were inside of the home at the time of the fire, including the Democratic governor, his wife Lori, as well as other family and staff. Balmer faces 8 charges, including terrorism, burglary, aggravated assault, and aggravated arson. According to state police, video shows Balmer throwing a Molotov cocktail into the house through the broken window. After throwing the homemade bomb, flames ignited inside the house. Chief Ederlein confirms that 2 cocktails were used on the property. Police say Balmer admitted to filling beer bottles from his house with gasoline from his lawnmower and walking more than an hour to the governor's mansion. 2 of those bottles were set off inside of the home, but Ederlein suggests there could have been more damage.
Yes.
When we look at the fire grew fairly quickly because it was accelerated by those Molotov cocktails that were used in the
Gasoline
firebomb.
burns.
It was a very surreal scene when I got there, about 15 minutes into it, seeing...
No, y'all don't get it. Gasoline burns like this. That's why they tell you don't smoke at a gas pump, at a gas station around the gas pump. Because the fumes can catch fire. The fumes catch fire, you can kiss that gas station goodbye. It's gone. It's gone. Everything's going up. The only thing that's going to stop it from going up is the shutoff valves inside the gas pump, your handle, and you uncouple it. It shuts off the gas. The valve backs it up. It'll burn inside the hose, but you better hope it don't get inside because that gas station is gone. There are plenty of videos out here with people smoking cigarettes while pumping gas, and then boom, they spontaneously combust. If the fumes can do that, imagine what the gas will do. All it has to do is just spread. You know, you ever that's why, like, a lot of servers, you know, keep in mind, I used to do banquet stuff and everything. A lot of servers, they're very careful with sternos. They'll pop the tin and then throw it away. You know, like a lot of, like where I work, they always wore rubber gloves when they popped the tin for the sternos, and then they took the gloves off and would light it with the long, you know, that long lighter. Yeah, they would light it with that. Boom, boom, boom. And you got to be careful because sometimes that flame, it burns clear. You don't even see it. You don't even see it. Got to be very careful. That's just sterno. Imagine what gasoline does. Yeah, so he could have got the mayor. He just happened to hit the banquet hall. You saw, I mean, when you look at the pictures of what room he burned, it looked like they had a banquet hall set up for some type of reception or whatnot. He wound up burning that area. He didn't get to the residential area. They were able to extinguish the fire before it got that far. But yeah, it could have been bad. He just happened to throw Molotov cocktails in the unoccupied area of the home, you know, the banquet hall area of the home. But it could have been worse. People could have died. That's why they're getting him on attempted murder.
fire coming from the governor's mansion.
After Balmer left the property, troopers from PSP Harrisburg Barracks were contacted by a female who said that Balmer was her ex-boyfriend and told police that Balmer told her everything and wanted her to call the police to turn him in. Shortly after the call, a trooper was approached outside of the department headquarters by Balmer, who then admitted he was responsible for the fire and was turning himself in. While interviewing Balmer, troopers say he also admitted his hatred towards Governor Shapiro.
Look at that. And if you notice, look at this. Take a look at
While
this.
interviewing Balmer,
Because this was something that I noticed, like when I was watching earlier videos. If you guys can see that, that's Jewish writing, because it was a Jewish event that was going to happen the next day. That's why the people that was like, they said there was 25 people plus servants, you know, that was there that night, because the next morning they had a Jewish event. They had a Jewish event that next morning. So not only they might up his charges, you know, to a hate crime. We'll see what his confession brings out. But if he confesses that he did this, you know, because of, you know, the religious event or whatnot, then they're going to up his charges. You know, this guy's never going to see the light of day anyway, you know, going after a governor, unless he was in Michigan. In Michigan, you can plot to kidnap and murder a governor, and, you know, they'll just, you know, give you some cookies in the juice box and send you home. But this is Pennsylvania. Or where is that, where he is? Pennsylvania? Yeah, Pennsylvania. Yeah, they're going to throw the book at this dude.
His hatred towards Governor Shapiro. Court documents show Balmer continued to troopers, saying he was aware of the consequences and the possibility that Shapiro would be in the house at the time of the incident. Balmer told police if he found Shapiro inside of the house, he would beat him with his hammer. State police say Balmer will be transferred back to Dauphin County Prison, where his arraignment will be held once he is released from the hospital. Coming up in the next half an hour, right here on Fox 43, we hear from Cody Balmer's mother as well as a neighbor to learn more about his background.
Yeah,
live in Harrisburg, Tyler
we'll deal with that later, but
Fox 43 News.
All right, Tyler, thank you very much. We'll check back with you later in the hour. Thanks again.
You said chickens are coming home to roost. I got one more story on
we
this.
begin tonight with new details from Harrisburg and the arson investigation at the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. These pictures show the severity of the fire and the extent of the damage. And today, fire officials say it could have been much worse. We're also learning more about the suspect, 38-year-old Cody Balmer, seen here, the fire chief calling him a domestic terrorist. This is the Fox 29 News at 6. I'm Sheba Russell.
And I'm Jennifer Lee. More than 24 people were in the home just hours.
All right, y'all. So pick left or right, L or R. L or R. I'm being funny to, you know, at least alleviate the tension, but L or R.
Before celebrating Passover. In just the last half hour, state troopers walked Balmer into his arraignment.
Sir, what were you thinking on Sunday morning? What were you
He looked like he makes furniture in a barn somewhere.
What is it?
Oh, he stuck his tongue out. You see that?
How do you say you hate the governor?
Yeah, you see that? Look, he stuck his tongue out at the reporter. Yeah, bruh. You're lucky they don't have public executions, because you'd definitely be in line for that.
What is it?
Cody, is the confession you gave state police accurate?
Your father said he tried to help you, sir.
And you can hear our Fox 29 reporter Jeff Cole asking multiple questions as Balmer was led into a judge's office in Harrisburg to face charges of attempted murder, terrorism, and aggravated arson. Balmer is...
You see the cat? Look, you see this?
Charges of attempted murder, terrorism, and aggravated...
This dude right here, like, dude, stop blocking the door. Move. Get out the way, stupid.
Arson. Balmer is accused of setting fire to Governor Josh Shapiro's home in Harrisburg Sunday.
ADL is
Police
going to
say
milk
he jumped the
this.
fence around 2 a.m. and threw a gasoline-filled bottle into the house.
I'll take
Investigators
the
say
L, lick the
Balmer
left.
broke into the home, through
He
a
looks
window,
like he
and
does
started a
Texas
fire in
history.
2 rooms with intent to do
Knows
as much
everybody. Y'all are
damage
crazy.
as possible.
The Molotov cocktail is no different than a gun. When I got that Molotov cocktail in my hand, I know at the end of the day, I'm going to create damage, destruction, and probably going through the terrorist's mind was, I want to kill somebody.
That fire happening just hours after Shapiro's family had just celebrated Passover. Investigators say Balmer told them he would have attacked Governor Shapiro with a hammer if he saw him. Our Jeff Cole was just inside the court there for Balmer's arraignment. Jeff, what happened inside?
Charged with some 7 counts related to what's gone on here, including attempted murder, 8 counts actually, including attempted murder, and then he was denied bail. So he we actually will see him, or should see him coming out real quickly. Let me just show you. So this is the state police vehicle sitting right outside the side door. Here is the
look. Not everybody is, Chief Grady sitting at a press conference every day. He stretches out the whole story. Well, this guy right here, you won't believe this. So he was having this Chief Grady moment.
Dauphin County Court.
Sheriff Grady
let him in here just before 6 o'clock or so. You heard us sort of shouting questions to him as he came. He's 38 years old. He told the judge that he's been living with his parents for about a year. He said that he did not have drug problems. He said he did not have a problem with alcohol. He said he was not working at this point, but had worked for a welder apparently for about a year or so. He is 38 years old. This is the man, as you said that he hated Governor Josh Shapiro and hoped that if he had seen Shapiro inside the residence at just after 2 o'clock on Sunday morning, as you said, he wanted to hit him with a hammer. Now, inside the court here, he sat before a judge and was flat, really, had very little to say, answered questions yes or no, yes or no, nothing much more.
Let's be honest. This guy really wasn't trying to hurt nobody because, okay, first and foremost, this is the residential area. He attacked this area. I mean, in all honesty, this is like attacking somebody's garage. This is like attacking somebody's garage. So basically what you wanted to do was at least cause enough damage and maybe the smoke alarms will go off and then these people will hear it. No, oh, there's a fire. And then they can escape from the front, the back, the side, whatever, while the fire spreads before the fire trucks get there, and of course the police who actually do monitor. You were asking, what about the police? Well, yeah, they do monitor the governor's mansion, and they don't be on it like that because it's not like every day the governor's mansion is under attack. It's got lax security, but it has security just the same. But when the smoke detectors went off and then they, ADT or whoever, hey, we get an alert from the governor's mansion. They quickly send the cruiser by. Oh my God, there's a fire. Like, quick, call the fire department. There's a fire out here. Boom, boom, boom. Like, Shapiro said, the police were banging on the door, and woke them up like, hey, there's a fire. And then everybody was able to get out. And the fire, of course, was just contained to this area. It's like burning down somebody's garage. So I'm like, if he really wanted to cause some serious damage, he would have hit some of these windows here in the front of the house, circled around to the back. He would have cut them. He would have been. Look, if you really wanted to hurt people, you would have attacked this room right here where the door is. You'd have attacked all of these doors. This door, the front door, whatever side door, and the back door. You would have attacked those areas. You would have cut off their easy means to escape. People would have had to have broken out windows or whatnot in order to get out. But he didn't do that. So it was a very stupid plan that he did. Yeah, he was heavy on the sauce. He had to admit Barney fight with it. Yeah, brick don't burn. I ain't buying this entire scenario. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, where's the state troopers? Like, they got a guard roaming the grounds. ADT. What's up, Lewis? Chill out, bitter, before they get you on conspiracy. I'm just being honest. If I call myself wanting to burn down somebody's house, with them in it, and I wanted them not to get out. I'm going front door, back door. I'm gonna hit your front area first, the hardest, boom, 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 with 3 Molotovs, and then hit your side door, and then wait for you to come out the back door. And I'm waiting. Please come out the back door. Come out the back door where I'm sitting there waiting on. I really wanted to do some severe damage. But this guy, that's not what he was really trying to do. He was just being a dick. And now he's about to spend the rest of his life in prison for being a dick. You say even after the Tree of Life synagogue, even Shapiro is under high scrutiny. Yeah. Like, it's just wild. Like, you know, if he really want to do some damage, he could have.
And was flat.
But then
really
again,
had
he's pretty
very
stupid
little
looking,
to say.
so maybe he
answered questions.
wasn't smart
yes,
enough to understand how to
no,
execute.
Yes or no,
plan.
nothing much more than that. He was asked whether he had some sort of history of drug abuse. He said that's the rumor, Judge, but that is not the case. Asked if he had any children, he said that he had many children, is what he said. No further explanation of that. He sat next to a lawyer that was representing him there. The judge asked him that if he understood the charges
white
against
Dr.
him, which,
Umar?
again, include car pulling out here, attempted murder and aggravated assault, charges related to arson as well. He said he did in fact understand the charges here. And then the judge simply said, listen, I don't think there's any way to protect the public from you, so I will deny you bail. And that's where this situation stands now. Again, we expect to see him out here pretty soon. I'll have my photographer Brian Zeli pan a little bit and show you just what's going on here. So we have a bunch of TV news crews, folks with cameras and reporters waiting for him to come out. When he does come out, we are very likely.
Why
in
are
fact,
you
I
the
can
only
guarantee
reporter
we will
talking?
shout questions out of him to see if we can hear anything.
You saw when he panned across. He was the only reporter talking. Everybody else standing with their cameras pointing at the door, but he's the only reporter talking. What the hell is going on in Harrisburg, PA?
This is what they say about him. Before 2 o'clock on Sunday morning, he actually walked to the governor's residence. He jumped a fence on Geiger Street, they allege. He threw a Molotov cocktail, which they've described as a empty Heineken beer bottle filled with lawnmower gasoline, threw it into the residence. It started a fire there, broke a window, entered the residence, threw the Molotov cocktail there, and then ran off, later turning himself in. One more point. The fire chief from Harrisburg spoke today suggesting that if they hadn't had doors shut from the rooms that had burned, if those doors weren't shut, there was concern there. He thinks that the fire would have rolled up a stairway up to the main area on the second floor, possibly truly imperiling the governor, his family, and people that were in his home who had just celebrated the Seder. Waiting to see him come out. We will certainly record that, get that material back to you later in the show if we can get that done. Jeff Cole live.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. You say you called BS 12 ounces of fluid. Come on. Yeah, see, that's why when he said, oh, it would have rolled all the way. No, come on. It would have took about a good 30 minutes to an hour for that to happen. Because when you look at all of the photos of what happened, you saw that one area that was burned, right? But you saw that secondary area. Let me pull it back. Hold on. Let me go back. This area was burned. This area right here is another hall. Like, this is where, like, a lot of the tables and everything that was set up in this area, not just this area, but also in this area. None of this was burned. None of this area was burned, just this area right here. So what is he talking about? It would have took another 30 minutes to an hour for the fire to spread that far. Just from, simple, well, this caught fire and now this caught fire and now this caught fire. Like, come on, man, stop. Who are you? Stop it. The place made of silver. Yeah, it didn't make sense. So let's get on. What's the next story here?
A lot of legalese in all of this. So luckily we have a legal expert, Deanna Paul, here trying to.
Yeah, they talk about this one guy, the one guy who's the He's a Trinidad Alagra gang member who snitched on his other gang members. That's what they're really not saying. So he got deported. Of course, the liquids, low IQ Democrats, the liquids are saying, no, he needs to come back home because he snitched. And Trump is like, I don't care. No, matter of fact, it's not even Trump. It's Marco Rubio saying, I don't care. Like he's not an American. He's here illegally. We sent him back to his home country. If his home country decides to keep him in prison, that's on them, which is El Salvador. Let's go.
New York City District Attorney, welcome. So we've had a lot of, I'm going to play a clip from Stephen Miller at the White House in a minute, but just taking up what you just heard from the president of El Salvador, the Supreme Court said to them, you should try to facilitate the return. And everyone in that Oval Office meeting and the people who would be under the jurisdiction, including the president, the attorney general, they showed no interest in that. And obviously either did the president of El Salvador. How do you see this?
It seems like they're parsing words in a somewhat juvenile way. When a court says facilitate this, I mean, it's common parlance. We know what that means. What
does it mean?
It means help us get him back.
Right. But make an effort, essentially.
Exactly.
But there's no real definition, but you got to try.
Yes.
So what if you come out publicly, right, and you're asked about this and you say, well, we're not going to try, essentially, which is what they did today. They didn't say, well, we're going to give it our best, and if he doesn't want to give him back, then we're not going to, that's not what they said. They basically went through every reason why he should have been, in their view, deported in the first place.
Yeah, and
that's a violation of the order?
I mean, they said that they haven't done any, they had no updates for the court. And what they were saying is all they're required to do per the court's order is to remove any sort of domestic obstacle. And that's not what the court ruling was. The court ruling was facilitate this, make it happen.
So what's the argument of the administration? And the most kind of aggressive articulation, I think, came from Stephen Miller, the president's
I like him.
Deputy Chief of Staff, but he's a president's guy on immigration, essentially. So here's part of what he said, Stephen Miller.
He's an El Salvadorian. That is his country of nativity.
Wait, hold on. You say she needs a sandwich, but I like them slim like that because, especially if you look at their mama and their mamas are like skinny old chicks or whatnot, then about time my camera came into focus, because by the time she get around her mama's age, that she ain't gonna be fat. The last thing you need is somebody in their 40s with lunch lady arms and whatnot. Can barely get up. Yeah, no. You say she need to comb in the brush. Hey, maybe so, but at least she won't be fat. You can always help a chick with her beauty tips, but a lazy chick is a lazy chick. Let's go. Sorry. While we comment.
He's an El Salvadorian. That is his country of nativity and citizenship. He's an illegal alien in the United States. He has no lawful right to be here. He was issued a final order of removal from this country. And so it's up to El Salvador and to the government and the people of El Salvador what the fate of their own citizens is. We can't extradite citizens of foreign countries to our country.
Now, I understand that differently because, and it doesn't matter to me, or shouldn't matter to anyone what kind of guy this guy is. We don't know. It could be a great person, it could be an awful person, but that's not what's the question here. He's saying he didn't have a right to be here. But there was a court order from 2019 who said that he couldn't be deported to where? El Salvador. Because they were scared. The guy apparently ran away from gangs when he was a kid. And they said that's the place he couldn't be deported. Well, that's where they deported him to. So that argument, I don't know where he's getting any of this from. That is flies in the face of what's been said in court by both sides, right?
By both sides, and the recent lower court decision actually said there is no evidence that's been presented to the court that shows that he's a gang member.
Yeah. Now, the Trump administration, Miller and others, I want to ask you about this, did say that the court ruled 9-0 in their favor. People say, well, what are you talking about? Well, what they were referring to, as I understand it, and I took notes on it earlier, is executive deference. So they were basically saying that the government's primary role in managing foreign relations, like negotiating with El Salvador, lies in the executive branch. So the court ruled in their favor, but they glossed over this whole other thing that we talked about, which was facilitate the release. So what do you make of that argument of executive deference?
So my reading of the ruling, the 9-0 decision is in favor of due process, that no one can be deported from this country without due process.
Which he didn't have.
Exactly. Right. And so that's what the 9-0 ruling is.
What happens now?
That is a great question.
Because he is in El Salvador in a prison. Mm-hmm. So if the guy says, and I'm not bringing him back. He's not coming back, is he?
He's not coming back.
I think that's the question all of us are wondering. The Justice Department is certainly not facilitating getting him back, but I mean, the courts are ordering them to do so. So we just have to wait and see. It's an interesting legal issue that
Does the court have anything it could do? Because let's just say, for argument's sake, that, and this is what looks like is going to happen, nothing happens. So they leave him there in the prison. In the present, he says El Salvador says, "Oh, it's preposterous to even ask." So he's not moving. So then, what does the court do? Do they hold someone in contempt, or what could they do here?
They can hold someone in contempt, but at the end of the day, the impact of that is still kind of up in the air. What does that actually mean if the person who they're trying to bring back is still in El Salvador?
There's no practical, but but there is precedent being set here. And again, there could be someone else that finds himself in this situation, right? So maybe the court want to make a point on that. Who would be held in contempt? Like a lawyer, DOJ lawyer or something?
Yes, exactly.
Right. That's what I figured. All right, Deanna Paul, thank you. Crazy case, and we'll follow it. Like you said, we'll all have to wait and see now.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find news.
Yeah, because Ground News is the truth. Ground News is the truth. They just post a story and they show you where. Here's the thing with Ground News that people don't get. Ground News is a composite of all the news stories, and they tell you whether, like, you see the red, the white, and the blue arrows. The red is, okay, this is, conservative media. They're mainly posting about this. The white is a neutral. White is neutral, and the blue is liberal. So Ground News just posts a story, but they give you the meter as to who's posting about it the most. That's why, like last year, during the election, near the election cycle, I was posting stories from Ground News, and TikTok was labeling my stories as, it's false. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this from Ground News? They literally have a news channel on your site. I was challenging my Ground News post. I was appealing my Ground News post, and then it would be hours later or the next day before they say, "Oh, well, this is true." And I'm like, why would you check Ground News on your own freaking TikTok? But you do understand that a lot of that $1 billion that Kamala spent with the Democratic Party was on social media suppression. So even Ground News was getting censored. You say Miller could be an extra in the SS documentary.
Well, I think the conversation's going to be extremely.
This is what's funny. That's Kristi Noem, and Kristi Noem, she's a pretty woman, pretty little Hispanic woman. But what's funny is that, like, on like some of my social media sites, like be it Instagram or Threads or especially TikTok, they always when they say some liquid stuff, I'm like, you need to stop watching CNN. Oh, you watch Fox News? I'm like, no, I don't watch Fox News, because mainstream media is full of crap, be it Fox News or CNN, MSNBC, whatever. As y'all know, I like to get it straight from the horse's mouth. So, prime example, this here is Fox News, me proving why I don't watch Fox News, because they can get it too. They can get it too.
Beneficial. El Salvador.
Look at this, girls. Look at Kristi Noem's eyes. Very pretty. Anyway, let's get it.
Salvador's been a fantastic partner. And when I was in El Salvador visiting with President Bukele, we talked about the fact that he would accept more flights, would accept more individuals into CCOT. So I'm looking forward to that partnership continuing.
So that was Kristi Noem last hour here on Fox. President Trump's getting ready to welcome the leader of El Salvador to the White House amid the fallout over a man mistakenly deported there. White House argues it does not have to bring him back. Supreme Court says you have to facilitate that. Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Homeland Security Advisor, here to straighten it out. And sir, good morning to you. Got a couple minutes. I want to motor through a bunch of things here, okay? Here's the argument on topic number one. DOJ said a federal court cannot compel the executive branch to engage in any mandated act of diplomacy or incursion upon the sovereignty of another nation. So your argument is that you don't have to bring him back home, but will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said, because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case, clearly, 9-0. a district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping, that we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen against the will of his government and fly him back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So he appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article 2 foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling, and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0. We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention, and then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else. The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting.
Okay, I appreciate
he was
the
not. No, Bill, it's important. He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
No, it's fine. Y'all can have the jokes, but this is the part I like because I actually watched this. He started G-checking the hell out of this dude. And I forget this guy's name. I need to get his name. But this guy, he's always the Stephen Miller. Okay. Stephen Miller is normally the guy like when Trump has to sign executive orders. He's the guy that has the executive order in his hand. Well, yes, Mr. President Trump, this is for, tell them kids to shut the hell up. This is for get your gay ass out of women's sports. He's that guy. And he's very intelligent. He doesn't be on the news often like this doing interviews, but when he does, he's normally G-checking people. This is one of those moments. So let me back it up because the host, and it's funny because it's Fox News trying to act like CNN, but he G-checked this guy, flew out this whole podcast, whole telecast, and the guy couldn't handle it. They kept cutting away from the newscaster because he couldn't handle the bitch slapping that Stephen Miller was putting on him. Peep this out.
Appreciate
he was not. No, Bill's important. He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
Okay, so do you still
He's
believe
an illegal
he is a
alien
member of
from
MS?
El Salvador? Hold on, this is important. In 2019, he was ordered deported. He has a final removal order from the United States. These are things that no one disputes. Where is he from? El Salvador. Where is he a resident and citizen of? El Salvador. Is he here illegally? Yes. Does he have a deportation order? Yes. A DOJ lawyer who has since been relieved of duty, a saboteur, a Democrat, put into a filing incorrectly that this was a mistaken removal. It was not. This was the right person sent to the right place. Now, some have said, well, but he had a thing called a withholding order. So a withholding order means you've been ordered deported, but an immigration judge is saying you cannot go back to a particular country. Here's the thing. If you are a member of a foreign terrorist organization, you cannot have a withholding order. Since he's in MS-13, there is no withholding order. Furthermore, the gang that he is accused of being persecuted by doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador. The 18th Street gang is gone. So you have an illegal alien from El Salvador. Bill, where are we supposed to send the illegal alien from El Salvador?
You haven't even
to what
allowed me
country?
to ask you a question. Are you convinced he is still a member of MS-13? That was your original charge.
Yes. But here's the thing, Bill. Yes, but here, not only am I convinced of it, not only is El Salvador convinced of it, Bill, he's an illegal alien from El Salvador with the deportation order. So his only options in life, Bill, his only options in life are to be deported to El Salvador or to be deported to some other country. That's it. He has a deportation order. So, Bill, you tell me, what country should we deport him to? Tell me, please. Tell me.
So Marco Rubio on Sunday morning said this. On Saturday night, another 10 criminals from MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, foreign terrorist organizations, arrived in El Salvador. The alliance between the president and president of El Salvador has become an example for security and prosperity in our hemisphere. So I don't know if this comes up today. I imagine it will. Is Gitmo still open? Are there any illegal immigrants who have been taken to Guantanamo Bay today, or has that prison been closed?
No, it's wide open. Gitmo is open. There are a number of foreign terrorist aliens that are being housed at Gitmo. awaiting final removal to another destination. But what I want to be very
Can
clear on,
you tell me how
Bill,
many?
No, I cannot. That's operationally sensitive information.
Dozens or more?
It's a large number. The exact number is operationally sensitive to do with military and other considerations relating to the security of those who are there and the security of those who are operating the facility. But I want to be very, very clear about this, Bill. We've been living through a hoax. Nobody was mistakenly sent to El Salvador. He was ordered deported from this country in 2019. He's an illegal alien. His home nation is El Salvador. That is where he belongs. An illegal alien from El Salvador gets sent to El Salvador. When you have a withholding order, to be clear, that does not pause your deportation. In other words, in the worst case scenario, it means you get deported to another country. It means you get deported to Africa or get deported to Asia, or you get deported to the Middle East. It doesn't mean you don't get deported. Either way, you're detained and deported. But in this case, because the withholding order doesn't apply to members who are of foreign terrorist organizations, that is obviated. By the way, this is an immigration court under the control and direction of the Department of Justice, not an Article 3 court. It's an Article 2 court. Additionally, as I mentioned, the cross-rival gang that he says was coming after him, so he's an MS-13. He's saying, well, he's going to be persecuted by the 18th Street gang. That gang doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador. What are we supposed to do, Bill? Keep all the world's terrorists on our soil forever? If you're here illegally, you're going to get sent home.
So quickly,
and I'm sorry to everyone that you've been living through this media hoax. And we won the Supreme Court case. They overturned the ruling of the district court and said clearly that no administration can be compelled to engage in foreign policy to extradite a citizen of another country.
I want to squeeze this in. The activists from Columbia University won a case there from a judge saying you can be deported. There'll be an appeals process that could go on for some time.
He's still getting
Will
deported.
Mahmoud Khalil be deported from the United States?
Hell yeah.
Quick answer on that, please.
Yes, he will, as will anyone who preaches hate for America. His organization said they wanted to eradicate Western civilization. Look, under this country, under this administration, under President Trump, people who hate America, who threaten our citizens, who rape, who murder, and who support those who rape and murder are going to be ejected from this country. And I just wish a fraction of the media outrage that we had over deporting terrorists and deporting monsters and deporting their sympathizers from this country was spent crying over the blood that was shed of American women and children over the last 4 years, or crying over the 500,000 children that Biden trafficked into this country, or crying over the neighborhoods destroyed by gangs and drugs and fentanyl. Cemeteries are filled with tombstones from Americans that were killed by Joe Biden and Mayorkas and his administration, suffering beyond imagination. We just arrested an illegal alien who committed sex crimes against 20 children. Sex crimes against 20 children freed by a sanctuary city. So I'll reserve my sympathy and my empathy for the Americans being brutalized by these monsters, and we will not apologize for getting these monsters the hell out of our country, Bill.
Stephen Miller, thank you for your time. I'm out of time today. We will speak again. Thank you, sir,
Thank you.
from the North Lawn.
I'm Steve. Yeah, Stephen Miller put his foot in this dude's tail. I mean, you notice he didn't even give the reporter a chance to even get a word in edgewise because he wanted to make sure that he got his message across. There was no way in hell he wanted CNN or MSNBC or The View or ABC or any one of those bleeding heart, we love rapists, murdering, drug dealing, criminal illegals. And there was no way in hell they were going to chop that up and call themselves trying to have sympathy for this dude. Because I still stand by the mantra, if you love them so much, then we'll move them into your home with you. We'll take the locks off your bedroom and bathroom door because do you identify as a female? Yes, si, senor. Good. There you go. Here, put this wig on. You know what I'm saying? You safe. Since you love them so much. Anyway, so let's get to the main event. So I got into it with this goofy, I would say it's a troll, but you know, a little goofy white girl on TikTok talking about how she is losing money and everything and whatnot, and how the terrorists are bad. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. But then again, understand that I want y'all to understand something here. Because I downplay this a lot as far as like, us having the coaching communications business and everything, but we were an international business. You guys have no idea. We used to the store closed at 8. I didn't walk home to my 2-minute walk to my apartment till like 1-2 o'clock in the morning because I'm burning tapes and filling orders. We opened from 10 to 8. I'm in there at 8 a.m. till 2 a.m. This was when my father was sick. I'm just filling orders. All I'm doing is filling orders. Them tall U-Haul boxes, I'm filling these suckers up. We were an international business. I know all about tariffs. I know all about business and all of the structures, everything that goes with it. A lot of people that you see online, especially a lot of Democrats, a lot of liquids, low IQ Democrats, they don't know a goddamn thing about what the hell they talking about, because the most business that they've ever done is maybe a drug deal or maybe some crap over Facebook Marketplace or something. They have no idea what the hell business entails. We're talking about grown up money, not no little $300 re-up money. You have to look at things from the long-term aspect. This whole tariff situation, what Trump did, he gave these countries a taste of what it could be like. Boom, he hit them. Did the stock market drop? Yes, but the stock market dipped back up because he put a pause on the tariffs. But understand, and it'll be the next video, you'll see the effects that tariffs are having on what a lot of Democrats, they want to suck off China as if they live in China. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of factories in China have shut the hell down because of these tariffs. Ain't no U.S. factories shutting down because of our tariffs against China. China needs us 100% more than we need them. We really don't need them at all. The little goofy little toy crap we get from China, we can get that from anybody else or produce it right here in America. We did China a favor letting them into the World Trade Organization. We didn't have to do any of that. They make absolutely nothing that we can't produce ourselves or get from another country. Do you understand that? China is a barren wasteland. It's just like the UK. They grow nothing. They produce nothing. Everything that they get, they have to get it from another country. Nothing that comes out of China we can't produce ourselves or get from another country, but they most desperately need us. So Trump slapped the tariffs on world countries that do business here on the greatest consumer market in the world, the United States, because we love our cheap little trinkets and toys and trash things. That we love garbage. We are like, it's like consumer porn. Literally, we consume and don't need. That's all we do. We buy. I don't need this cup, but I bought it. You know how many notebooks I got floating around this freaking area that I don't need? Ink pens, body sprays, little help. This is garbage. I don't need that. But we as a consumer nation, we buy, we just consume better than any country in the world because we have the economy to do so. So he slapped countries with tariffs. and then he took them off, and he gave them 3 months. I'm explaining with this whole tariff situation. He gave them 3 months to negotiate. So now, as a country, you have 3 months to either, as a corporation or a country, move your businesses, your manufacturing here to the United States, where, and this is the beauty of the art of the deal, you don't get to come in and take over an old factory or an office space for lease. No. The trick bag that Trump pulled on them, which I wound up coming to realize just by steady paying attention, he told them, you build your factories from scratch. You build your office space from scratch. You don't come in and lease nothing. You build it from scratch. Who's going to build those warehouses and office spaces from scratch? What companies are going to do it? Who's going to do it? American construction workers. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? And they've sold over 1,000 of those $5 million gold tickets that Trump said at $5 million a piece. You want to buy your way in as a corporation? You want to come and do business as a corporation into the United States? You got to buy my gold card. Buy my gold card, $5 million. Boom. You got over 1,000 corporations that did that off rip. Rip. Now I hit you with the tariffs, took the tariffs off. You got 3 months to buy the gold card or negotiate with me as a country on what you want to pay as a tariff. Now, you as a corporation, let's say you're not a government corporation, but you do business with the United States. You're in Guam or somewhere. Well, are the tariffs going to be higher than what we've already been paying? Well, we haven't been paying anything, but Trump is going to charge us at least 10%. 10%. So now you got corporations in different countries. They're now doing whole math, just like he did when he told, the women, he passed the law where if you pay child support, you can file the child on your taxes, your baby mama or baby daddy. But for the most part, your baby mama, if you paying child support, your baby mama can't claim the kid on her taxes. So now she has to make a decision. She got to do some whole math. Will she make more in taxes? Because do understand, you know how women do, baby mamas do, especially the poor ones. Every year she use her tax money to buy a new car and go on a trip to Cabo or to Jamaica and get a bamboo back shots or whatever. Wow. Do I continue to milk you for child support, or do I want to file the taxes and go get a new car and a Cabo and tear the car up before the end of the summer because I don't know how to maintain a car, so I burn out the engine because I don't put no oil in it or maintain it or nothing, or I wreck it or get towed or something, or get repossessed, or do I continue with the child support? He got countries, corporations doing whole math. Is it cheaper for me to stay here and send my exports overseas and pay the tariffs, or is it cheaper for me to buy the $5 million gold card and build a factory there and, hire American employees and pay them what they're worth and sell my products at a cheaper cost, but it'll be more expeditious because now, as I was saying, God damn it, every time. Do I put the little dangle on the cup and sell it for $5-6 wholesale, or do I not put the dangle on it and sell it at $15, knowing that an American company is going to copyright infringe me, put a dangle on it and sell it for the $5-6 that I could have sold it for had I have just opened the factory there? It's whole math. So you got corporations trying to do the whole math. You got countries trying to do the whole math. You got 3 months to make up your mind. So, as they were saying in the other video we saw Friday, you got over 70 countries blowing up Trump's phone. Please, President Trump, let me talk to you. You know what I'm saying? They breaking their necks trying to make the deal, trying to work out these tariffs. Okay? They trying to work out the tariffs. So, the president of El Salvador brought his ass to the White House. He called a flight. And I like the president of El Salvador. He reminds me of, the El Salvador version of Miami Vice, with the slick back hair. You'll see him. He's the slick back hair, the slick little Miami Vice suits from the 80s, But that brother cleaned up his country by throwing a lot of the gang members like Trende Alagra and MS-13 and all that. He locked them dudes up. He didn't play. He was like, the hell with this. I'm cleaning up my country. He was not like Mexico, letting the gangs and the cartels run free. He threw them folks in jail. And when Biden wanted the illegals to flood the country and they asked him for his criminals, he emptied his prisons. He took the money from Biden, gave his prisoners the stipends, and sent them on their way to America. Well, Trump was saying, hey, look, take your illegals back. Take your criminals back. And he said, okay, because we're paying them, I think, $11,000 a year per prisoner or something like that. Whereas in America, they would cost $28,000. So he was like, well, I'll give you 11. And he said, okay, cool. But now here comes the tariffs. He was the first one on the flight to come. Well, he was the second one. The first one was Netanyahu trying to get the tariffs taken off. And Trump was like, no, you owe us way too much money. Israel, no, like it's cool and all that you want to come and, let your nose, be all buried in my public cares, but you still getting tariffed at 17% because you owe us way too much money. So now the El Salvadorian president, he's the second one. What's his name? Nayib Bukele. He's the second one to come to the White House. So let's see what happened here. There's Christy Noam's pretty ass. Of course, here's JD Vance, Mark Rubio. I believe this right here in this corner. I believe that's Pam Bondi. Let's see what happened, because I from what I understand, this was a very testy press conference. So let's go.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have a friend of mine, because we went through this together and got along very well for my entire period of time. So I knew him as a very young man. Now he's just a young man, and he's done a fantastic job. Mr. President, it's an honor to have you. You're doing incredibly for your country, and we appreciate working with you because you want to stop crime, and so do we. And it's very, very effective. And I want to just say hello to the people of El Salvador and say they have one hell of a president. Okay, and I mean that, and I know him well. I know him as a very young man, Marco, even younger than you. He started pretty young.
He'll always be younger.
Young at heart. But I want to thank you for the great job you're doing. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be here in the Oval Office with the president and leader of the free world. We're very happy, and we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. And we're a small country, but if we can help, we can do it. And we actually turned the murder capital of the world. That was the journalists call it, right? Murder capital of the world into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And sometimes they say that we imprisoned thousands. I like to say that we actually liberated millions. So
it's very good. Who gave him that line? Do you think I can use that?
Yes. And in fact, Mr. President, you have 350 million people.
Hold on, you say Nippon is trying to buy U.S. steel? That's that Japanese steel company. I'll take a look at it. Let's go.
liberate. But to liberate 350 million people,
I'm gonna check it right now.
That's the way it works, right? You cannot just free the criminals and think crime's going to go down magically. You have to imprison them so you can liberate 350 million Americans that are asking for the end of crime and the end of terrorism. And it can be done. I mean, you're doing it already. And I'm sure that people have seen the change in the streets. A long way to go.
All right, so you made the statement. It says, yes, Nippon Steel has been attempting to acquire U.S. Steel for approximately $15 billion. However, the deal has faced significant opposition due to concerns about national security and supply chain resilience. Both former President Joe Biden and current President Donald Trump have expressed opposition to the acquisition, with Biden blocking the deal earlier this year. Trump has recently ordered a new review of the proposed acquisition to assess potential risks and determine if further action is necessary. The situation remains complex with ongoing legal challenges and political scrutiny. Nippon Steel has also suggested alternative approaches, such as investing heavily in U.S. Steel without taking a majority stake. So in all honesty, I would suggest that I don't think that they're going to sell it because of national security reasons, and Trump is very big on national security. But if Nippon wants to buy shares, they want to buy shares in it, you go right ahead. That's more money for me because I did invest in U.S. Steel. Let's go.
Go because you're just initiating your second term. But it's clear that with the numbers at the border, even in Democrat-run cities, they get a help from the work you're doing. So I'm really happy to be here, honored, and eager to help.
Well, we had a terrible thing happen. We had an administration that allowed people to come in freely into our country from not only South America, but from all over the world, many from the Congo in Africa, Asia, all over the world, Europe, rough parts of Europe. And they came from prisons, and they came from mental institutions, and they came from gangs, and the gangs of Venezuela and other places. And hundreds of thousands and even 21 million people altogether, but many of the people that came, just a tremendous percentage of them were criminals, in some cases violent criminals. We had 11,088 known murderers, half of them murdered more than one person. This was allowed by a man who, what he did to our country is just unbelievable. So we're straightening it out, we're getting them out. But what they did and what that party did to our country, open borders, anybody could come in. As soon as I heard that, I said, every prison's going to be emptied out into our country. That's what happened. And we're straightening it out. And we just had numbers. We had the highest recruiting numbers in the history of our country going into police departments. And a year ago, we had the lowest numbers. You couldn't hire a
biggest change. Yeah.
Nobody's ever
the lowest
seen.
of the highest.
And the military now, Marines, the Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, every slot is, we have the best numbers we've ever had. We call it recruitment numbers. And we've never had anything like it. We had records on at every single level. But very important, the policemen. The policemen are joining forces now that we're having a hard time with policemen because we weren't protecting our police. Yeah. And we cherish our police. The police are great, and the firemen and everybody else. But we have the highest numbers that we've ever had, the most enthusiasm. Great enthusiasm and on trade and other things. We're doing great. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars. We made 2 weeks ago, I gave them a little bit of a pause because you have to show a little flexibility. We go back to what we have to do. The markets have been very strong once they got used to it, but we were losing $2 billion a day. There's no company big like this, but this is the biggest deal ever made. Now we're making $3 billion a day. We're a great country, but we had stupid people running this country, and I can say it. But what they've done to us at the border should never and can never be forgotten. It's a sin, what they did, and you are helping us out, and we appreciate it.
Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. It has dropped, 95% It's incredible.
Okay. As of this morning, 99%, 99.1%.
You look like the South American Drake.
What are those numbers?
Well, they
You look like South American Drake.
CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country actually.
Yeah,
but it's a shame. You're right. Isn't that a great question? Why doesn't the media? Why don't they put out numbers?
Yeah, 99%. I mean, it's crazy, right?
We're doing
a crazy turnaround.
Christy, could you maybe say a couple of words about the border? How we're doing?
It's just been absolutely phenomenal what a great leader can do. Clear direction. Our laws matter. We should only have people in our country that love us, and the Border Patrol and our ICE officers and law enforcement officers have done fantastic work. So we're proud of them. Now we just need to get the criminals and murderers and rapists and dangerous gang members and terrorist organizations out of our country. So, Mr. President Bukele, we thank you very much for your partnership. It has been wonderful for us to be able to have somewhere to send the worst of the worst and someone to partner with. And we'd like to continue that partnership because it's been a powerful message of consequences. Mr. President, you wanted people to know that there was consequences if you break our laws and harm our people and endanger families. And this is a clear consequence for the worst of the worst that we have somewhere to put them.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we even had this gang member from Venezuela, from one of the ones you sent, and we interviewed him just to get some information, etc., from them. And he said, "Oh, I got arrested 6 times, but they released me the 6 times, so I should be released again." And then we said, "Well, what's the last thing you do?" And he said, "Well, I shot a cop in the leg, but I didn't kill him. I just shot him in the leg." And we're like, this guy was arrested 6 times here in the United States, 6 times. He was released 6 times. And in the he was released 5 times. And the last time he was sent to El Salvador, right? So he's not getting released. But the last time he shot a cop, actually, and he shot him in the leg. So these are, like I said, there's something broken.
The liberal establishment. But they're not running things anymore in this country. And we're run by, and I don't say conservative, I don't say anything. We're run by people with great common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
Because it's all common sense. It's not liberal conservative, it's common sense. But, do you allow men?
I hear what you're saying, Jibba. This is why, remember when I was talking all of the expat stuff at the time, because the Democrats, Joe Biden's administration was destroying this country. Let me tell you something. Kamala Harris was one. Anyway, yeah, South America was 100% off my list. 100% off my list. That is a criminal country. Those are low IQ, violent, felon countries. That's why a lot of these people who are coming from South America are getting kicked the hell out. That is a violent country. A violent country. Those people are literally ruled by their emotions. You'd be surprised at the amount of crime videos that I saw in South America that I can't even play them here because of the violence. Like the one video showed the guy, it was a brother-in-law. He took, they were trying to put a closet door up, and just when they thought that it was done, the guy was standing there, and the one guy took the claw end of a hammer and literally smacked the guy in the head with the claw end of the hammer, and he went down. The guy took off running, and you saw the claw end of the hammer sticking out of the guy's head, and he was with his eyes open down on the ground shaking, with his wife and his mother-in-law and all of them around, oh. I mean, just crazy stuff. I mean, that's the norm there. That's the norm there, and in the Middle East and parts of Africa, there was no way in hell. No. The Asian countries, I had finally decided to hell with the Philippines because that was a real shithole of a country. I had finally decided on Japan. I had finally settled on Japan because of the laws and the cleanliness and the culture. Sure enough, of course, they're very xenophobic, but my whole thing is that I like to keep to myself. So I wasn't really worried about it, but hell no. I'll be damned if I just be standing outside or going to a bodega to get something to eat or whatnot,
and some psychopath decides that he wants to rob me, so he blows my brains out with a shotgun to take my wallet or something like that. Hell no. Hell no. South America is a very dangerous place. I mean, just for South Americans, let alone a foreigner. Are you, especially a black one? Are you crazy? Hell no. These dudes sitting up here, all them passport bros that were breaking their necks, telling me something. I'm about to spend over $1,000 for some $40 taco. Them guys were losers. Anyway.
And to play in women's sports, do you allow men to box your women and box? Because I know you have a lot of boxing.
That's violence.
Give you some tree bark to wake up with
Abuse of the woman. It's abuse of the woman. But we have people that fight to the death because they think men should be able to play in women's sports. And some of those sports, it wouldn't matter much, but it still matters. But some of them are very dangerous for women.
Some years ago, like we said, a decade ago or so, women's rights movements were pressuring so that we enacted specific laws to avoid men abusing women. And I think those laws were great because there were a lot of men abusing women.
Yeah, that's the way they look at it.
The same people.
Men pretending to be women is basically a man.
New laws allowing men to abuse women in sports. So actually, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
You know, they have weightlifting records, right? Yeah. A woman gets up, lifts weights, she's incredible. A guy gets up and beats her by 100 pounds. What are you going to do? A record that hadn't been broken in 18 years. You know, they put on an ounce, quarter of an ounce, eighth of an ounce for 18 years. Now they have a guy come up, the whole thing is crazy.
I remember that. What he's talking about, the weightlifting thing. The funny part about, you had some guy pretending to be a woman do the whole bench pressing thing. He bench pressed over 150 pounds more than the world record, and then had the nerve to talk trash to women. Talk trash to women in the sport. How they was weak and all of this stuff. So you had a guy, full beard, mustache, muscular. He just identified as a woman and went in and smashed the record by 250 more pounds. And then he talked trash about the guy that beat the women, that talked trash about the women. And then this little faker had the nerve to get mad and say, oh, well, this guy is just pretending to be a woman to humiliate me. Isn't that what you were doing? You're on tape humiliating women, talking trash about them. So when these little goofy little 92%er black women talking about some mediocre white males, in all honesty, they're talking about those little pretending white males who put on a lipstick and a dress and a wig and a skirt, calling themselves competing against women. Those are the real mediocre males that they're talking about. You know, the ones that they secretly like to have sex with and spread STDs all over black society, with low account males that sleep with these black females. Any rate.
Because I want to save it for just before the next election. I said, my people, don't even talk about it because they'll change.
Salvadorian transmission.
And well, but I watched this morning. There was a congressman fighting to the death for men to play against women in sports. And you say to yourself, why? What are they doing? Right? What are they doing? But your country's not too big in that.
No, of course not. We're big in protecting women.
Good. That's it's a very important form of protection. Yeah.
And as you can see, most of my cabinet are women. So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's why you're
just like Trump's cabinet. He's got a lot of women in his cabinet.
That's right. This is very impressive. This is
a lot of diverse women in his cabinet too. Trump has a lot of diverse women in his cabinet.
Right here.
4 and 3 men.
Look at what you have.
Okay, so these are the women in his cabinet. Okay.
That's good. I like that. We've been advanced.
Because women like you ask, how can a woman lay with a down low dude? Because they like that stuff. They, Trump's on that pronoun thing. Yeah, but do understand that liquid women, they like weak men. They like weak men. Who is that? That one rapper said she hates heterosexual men. She only likes gay men. Yeah, because they sleep with them. They like them trans men. They like them trans men. They don't see them as a threat. And it's like a sexual thrill for them. Why do you think, like years ago here in Atlanta, the STD rates between gay men and black women were of the same rate with the same STDs? Because they're sleeping with these dudes, and oh, he's down low. How is a dude running around with a limp wrist and a freaking ankle bracelet and a list with his pinky out? How is he down low? Why are you sitting up here, letting him give you back shots and you sucking the doo-doo off from in between his freaking skin folds? Get the hell out of here. Accountability, good Lord, is like kryptonite.
I've been very advanced in that regard too. We have Pam, who's been so fantastic. Christy, and the most powerful.
What's up, DeCarlo Boucher?
They're all afraid of Susie Wells. They say,
look, he pointing to his women, to his cabinet.
According to magazines. What do I know? I think she probably is. She probably is.
Congratulations.
And Stephen, who's done such a great job. We have great people.
Very famous too.
But we love working with you.
Oh, there's Steve Miller. There's your dude.
No games.
No.
Well, my dude, yeah, the one that's always pissing people off.
Do you have any questions, please?
Here we go.
Let's not start with CNN because they're so.
Your girl from CNN is back. Oh, she's back. I guess she's back from vacation. She's back from vacation. The one that's always asking the stupid questions, she's back. The one that pissed off Trump and Carolyn Leavitt, she's back. Peep this out. Let's hear it, because this is where it gets contentious. Let's peep it.
There's no games.
No.
Very good. He knows. Do you have any questions, please? No, let's not start with CNN because they're just so wrong. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. You repeatedly mentioned last night that Russia's attack on Ukraine was a mistake. What is the exact mistake? And have you given Putin a deadline to actually move toward a ceasefire?
The mistake was letting the war happen. If Biden were competent, and if Zelensky were competent, and I don't know that he is. We had a rough session with this guy over here. He just kept asking for more and more. That war should have never been allowed to happen. That war,
what's up, baby?
4 years, and Putin wouldn't even bring it up. And as soon as the election was rigged and I wasn't here, that war started. There was no way that war should have been allowed to happen. And Biden should have stopped it. And you take a look at Putin. I'm not saying anybody's an angel, but I will tell you, I went 4 years and it wasn't even a question. He would never, and I told him, don't do it. You're not going to do it. And it was the apple of his eye, but there was no way that he would have done it. All you had to do is lower oil prices. If you lowered oil prices, Biden kept the prices so high because he made it impossible to get it. If you lowered oil prices, you would have never had the war. But you wouldn't have had it with me anyway. That war would have never happened. And I think it's a great abuse. So now what do? You get a country where 25% of its land is gone and the best locations, where millions of people are killed. You haven't reported accurately the death. And this was Biden's war, and I'm trying to stop it. And I think we're going to do a good job. I hope we're going to do it. They lose 2,500 young people a week, think on average. Now they're Russians and they're Ukrainians, but it's 2,000. We don't care. It's like whatever it is. They're not from your country. They're not from mine, but I want to stop it. 2,500. It's a killing field. It's like the Civil War. You take a look. I look at the satellite pictures. This should not be happening in our time. Of course, our time can be pretty violent, as we know. But that's a war that should have never been allowed to start. And Biden could have stopped it, and Zelensky could have stopped it, and Putin should have never started it. Everybody's to blame.
Have you spoken to President Zelensky, sir, about his offer to purchase more Patriot missile batteries?
Oh, I don't know. He's always looking to purchase missiles. You know, he's against. Listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war. Right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size, and then hope that people give you some missiles. If we didn't give them what we gave, remember, I gave them javelins. That's how they won their first big battle with the tanks that got stuck in the mud, and they took them out with javelins. They have an expression that Obama at the time, Obama gave them sheets and Trump gave them javelins. But it's something that should have never happened. It's a really shame. The towns are destroyed. Towns and cities are, largely destroyed. They have the spires, the beautiful spires that go up. They say they were the most beautiful in the world in Ukraine for whatever reason, but the most beautiful in the world, they're mostly laying on their side, shattered and broken. And most importantly, you have millions of people dead because of three people. I would say three people. Let's say Putin, number one, but let's say Biden, who had no idea what the hell he was doing, number two, and Zelensky. And all I can do is try and stop it. That's all I want to do. I want to stop the killing. And I think we're doing well in that regard. I think you'll have some very good proposals very soon.
Last question.
By the way, Lewis, we're getting closing in on the first month since they kicked Zelensky out of the White House. We got 2 more months under 2 months and a week on whether or not Zelensky will be removed as the Ukrainian dictator / president. Oh, come on.
Attributed a motive through the FBI investigation behind the attack on Governor Josh Shapiro.
No, I haven't, but the attacker was not a fan of Trump, I understand, just from what I read and from what I've been told. The attacker basically wasn't a fan of anybody. It's probably just a whack job. And certainly a thing like that cannot be allowed to happen.
So good relation with President Bukele, the best guarantee that this time you won't terminate the temporary protected status.
I have a great relationship with this man. I have the best relationship with him. We've known each other. I've known him since he was a very young man, as I said, very, very young. And I was impressed. I said, look, this guy is, in fact, you sort of look like a teenager. You look like a teenager. I said, what kind of a country is this?
South American Drake.
He grew up well in the last 5 years.
Do you support an extension for nationals of El Salvador under temporary
I support
protected
him.
status?
Do you plan to ask
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country.
Okay, we paused it. First and foremost, that's Caitlin Collins, the chick that we're not sure is a transformer or not. When he called a very low-rated reporter, Trump is just, he just hates CNN. He hates CNN with a passion. But I'm gonna back it up. I'm gonna because he let I think he let Pam Bondi answer the question. But man, he is just laying waste to CNN. He hates CNN with a passion.
You look like a teenager. I said, what kind of a country is this? He grew up well in the last 5 years.
Do you support an extension for nationals of El Salvador under
I
temporary
support
protected
him.
status?
Do you plan to ask
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly
Which one is it?
deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you ask?
Yeah, Pam Bondi.
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, 2 courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs. If they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the president could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world. And I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask for
Supreme
any
Court
help
is
to get him
asking
back?
to.
Is that
What was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
in our favor.
In our favor, against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual at El Salvador's sole discretion was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
no version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador.
He would be a good lawyer.
Questions about it per the court can only be directed to him.
I asked
¿Usted lo liberaría, Presidente
Bukele? Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I guess, suppose you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
how can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States? Of course, I'm not going to do it. I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
These are sick people.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Island, I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin, except for Venezuela that wasn't refusing to take people back or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President, no, the foreign policy of the United States.
Well, there you go.
By the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We want to
no bitch made,
and people like CNN
liquid judge
the loss as usual.
No bitch made liquid judge can tell the president of the United States what to do. You just had a whole Supreme Court hearing about that. So they need to shut their mouths. But this is liquid media.
Exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0 And people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please go ahead.
President Trump,
Ooh.
thank you so much. How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many.
You know what? I used to love that show. I need to watch that final season of House of Cards. What it was, I tell you what threw me off was, what was the guy, Frank? When he started sleeping with his former college roommate / boyfriend, it threw me off the show. That was like the last episode I watched where he was, you know, we had the reunion and they was kissing and all this stuff. And this was before I even found out that, you know, old boy was like gay in real life. Kevin Spacey. Because I like Kevin Spacey as an actor. He's a damn good actor. But, you know, watching that when that scene came up in House of Cards, that was the last episode I watched. And then the next season came and I didn't watch none of it. And that show was good. So I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to finish off the last House of Cards season. I'm going to do that as a favor to myself. You say these are the situations Trump was studying the last 4 years. Perfect implementation. This is a circular argument that goes in Trump's favor. Salvadorian says we ain't letting them go. Exactly. Yeah, because, you know, I mean, the one thing that Trump learned from his first presidency was that, yo, hold on. I need to find a way to combat these people who are coming at me crazy. Because remember, his first presidency, people was like, you know, sabotaging him. He was firing people. People was quitting. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. So this time, everybody he picked as a cabinet member, he made sure the number one thing that Trump said he wanted to do, he wanted people that he could trust. And if you notice, everybody, every single body except Pete Hegseth talks with his mouth. Marco Rubio, Pam Bondi, the guy that was just talking, Miller, all of them, Kristi Noem, everybody except for Hegseth talk with his mouth. Even the vice president, even J.D. Vance talks like Trump. He got people that were exactly like him. That's now in his cabinet. I guarantee you, none of them is gonna be leaving. You say House of Cards was awesome before they took Spacey off. Oh my God! Don't tell me season 3 is garbage. You say Kevin Spacey been suspect. Well, you know, I didn't really get. I'm not into celebrity lives like that, so it wasn't. You know, till all the controversies came out, I was like, what? When I found out he was gay, I was like, Kevin Spacey gay? Like, are you serious? You know, and I started thinking about all his movie roles. I was like, I never saw it. Like, I swear to God, one of the best movies I ever saw him in was it was something about Hollywood, the Hollywood Detectives. It was the Hollywood Detectives. I cannot think of the name of that freaking movie, but it was damn good. It was damn good. Scaramucci, okay, was all right. Okay, Val Kilmer was suspect too. They were best friends since college. Rest in peace, Val, aka Doc Holliday. The Usual Suspects. You can see it. Wait a minute. Hold on. I need to tell you. LA Confidential. That was a damn good movie. If y'all never seen LA Confidential, that movie was damn good. It had who was the other guy? It was another guy that was in there. It was a damn good detective movie. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Yep, it had Kevin Spacey, Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe. He was a damn good detective. Guy Pearce, James Cromwell, David Strathairn, Kim Basinger, and Danny DeVito. But that movie, LA Confidential, was damn good. It was set back in the 50s. It was set back in the 50s. That movie was damn good. I love that movie. Val was the best Batman. You know what? He looked good. Val looked good as both. He looked good in the bat suit and as Bruce Wayne. So I'll give him that. George Clooney as Batman and Bruce Wayne, that was garbage. Yeah, but Val was the best Batman. Let's just be honest. He fit the Bruce Wayne Batman archetype pretty good. You know, I mean, I liked who was the little vampire, the sparkle dude that's Batman now? Kaiser Soze. Oh yeah, that was good. When he Kaiser Soze, yeah. Who was the guy that played, like, he made a good Batman? The little dude, the little sparkle vampire that was in the last Batman movie. He made a horrible Bruce Wayne, but he made a good Batman because he was tall and slim as an early Batman. So the suit fit him well, just like with Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer was a slim dude, you know, so the bat suit fit him well. Michael Keaton was short. He's short and stocky. You know, Patterson. What's that guy's name? I can't think of his name, but yeah, but that movie, LA Confidential, y'all need to peep that out. That was a damn good movie. That was the Russell Crowe and the little nerdy guy with the glasses. They were damn good. Kevin Spacey was good in it. It was really like a Hollywood detective movie, but they showed you the inner workings of what was going on in Hollywood circles back then. You know, they gave Hollywood no breaks, you know. But let's get back to this. I'm sorry.
Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please go ahead.
President Trump, thank you so much. How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing
Robert
to take
Patterson.
from the
That's
US?
what you come up. Okay.
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, you know, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please?
Yeah, he was terrible as
many
Batman.
as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country that are dangerous.
Dude was like, are you insulting me or are you paying me a compliment?
People that are murderers, drug dealers.
He just said nothing.
Allowed to come into our country by other countries that were very smart. When they heard that this very low IQ president, and by the way, I took my cognitive exam as part of my physical exam, and I got the highest mark. And one of the doctors said, "Sir, I've never seen anybody get that kind of, that was the highest mark." I hope you're happy with that. Although they haven't been bugging me too much to take a cognitive, but I did do my physical and it was released. I hope you're all happy with it. I noticed there's no question, so probably you are. But the cognitive, they said to me, "Sir, would you like to take a cognitive test?" I said, "Did Biden take one?" No. "Did anybody take one?" No, not too many people took them. I said, what about Obama? Did he take one? No, he didn't take one either. I said, let me be the only one to take one. But I've actually taken them 3 times already. I like taking them because they're not too tough for me to take. But we had a great physical exam, so I know you're going to ask that. And the doctors who are total professionals, Walter Reed Medical Center, they're great people. And I visited a soldier that was badly wounded, incredible soldier, lost his leg, and spent a lot of time with him. I mean, great with his mother. And it was really a very.
I mean, outside of Trump, can you imagine laying up in the hospital and the president comes to see you?
There with me. But I took a full physical and it came out.
Simply because he's in the same hospital?
She got me for a little longer.
Would the U.S. be willing to pay for those facilities to be opened if new ones were going to be built?
I'd do something, we'd help them out, yeah. We help them. They're great facilities, very strong facilities, and they don't.
I mean,
play
you don't
games.
have to respect the man, but at
I'd
least
like to go
respect the
step
office.
further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that, Steve, okay?
And do you think more presidents should follow suit like you guys as far as taking a hard step?
Y'all are stupid, man.
I think everybody has to. The president said it better than anybody. He said, you have liberty and you have to have liberty, but to have liberty, not everybody is gonna be good. And some are bad because they're sick. They're mentally deranged, they're bad. Then you have to take them, if you're gonna have a country, you're gonna have to take those people out. And
late as usual.
We've been doing that. But this was like an unforced error, they would call it, where we had people that may hate our country, or maybe they're just stupid people. I think they're probably stupid people more.
They're stupid people. They're liquids.
A lot of people said they did it for the vote, but I did better with Hispanic people than they did, because they always use Hispanic. I did better. You people love me. I saw my poll numbers.
Your people love me.
91%.
Drake don't know how to take that. Stratus Drake don't know how to. He just sitting there just smiling.
But they don't have to do it for the vote. They cheat. They're professional.
Poor Spanish
That's
Drake.
not the only thing they do well. So we just have had a great.
You want that tariff bill down?
It's become bigger because of a strange thing that happened. When I came back, we had no war in Ukraine. We had no war with.
Wait. You want to know who do Trump's hair every day? You know what it is? It's that chick that your boy offered $1 million to. Skip Bayless offered $1 million to. She now does Trump hair. For her fine thick self. Oh, by the way, have y'all seen Joy Taylor on TV? I haven't heard anything since she got suspended. Is she back on Fox Sports 1? Or is like, did they just quietly let her go after suspension? Let me know. I don't know, because there's no NFL news for me to watch regular cable shows. So what's up with that? Let me know.
We had no October 7th Middle East problem. We had nothing. We had no inflation. We didn't have the Afghanistan most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
I'm joking. I don't know who does this hair. I don't want nobody to clip that and be like, oh, look, he's so stupid. He did that cheap.
That was the worst.
You know how the internet is. It's full of
embarrassing
morons.
moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan. We didn't have any of that. You wouldn't have had the war with Russia, Ukraine. You wouldn't have had the Middle East problem because Iran was broke. They had no money because we had secondary sanctions on and lots of other sanctions. And now every single thing, got a problem with Iran, but I'll solve that problem. That's almost an easy one. We got to solve a war that should have never started, Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah,
And
that's
we'll get
still
that
going.
solved. And we have to solve problems, and we already solved inflation. If you look at the numbers are incredible, actually. Stock market's up, and we're not letting other countries take advantage of this country like they have for the last 40 years. So thank you very much. You have a question, please?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you so much. You scored another major investment win this morning when NVIDIA pledged to build its AI supercomputer, the first time ever, right here in the United States.
Thank you. That's a question I like.
That's true. What is your reaction to this announcement, sir, and how will this positively benefit Americans across the country?
Well, it's one of the biggest announcements you'll ever hear, because NVIDIA, as you know, controls that almost the entire sector, which is one of the most important sectors in the world, between chips, semiconductors, and everything else. And they're the biggest. And the other biggest we already have coming in is spending $300 billion, as you know. They announced 2 weeks ago. But NVIDIA is so highly respected. And this was an announcement that a lot of people.
All right, so NVIDIA stock at closing today, excuse me,
is $110 per share. It closed today at plus $6.91. That's a 6.66% markup the past 5 days. Nvidia. I had some moron on my TikTok talking about, oh, he insider trading. I said, you idiot. It's not insider trading if he's been telling you for months in his press conferences like this. This is who we're going with. U.S. Steel, Nvidia, Apple. These are who are getting government contracts. He's been telling you this for months. He's telling you to buy stocks. Prime example. Remember he said Tuesday, buy stocks, right? Look how they shot up. Look how they shot up the day he told you, hey, buy stocks. They was telling people, sit on your money, sit on your stocks, buy stocks. It's not insider trading if he's publicly telling you to do it. You idiot. That's why the story was just a one-day little blip. He didn't make a secret phone call like Nancy Pelosi. No, he told you publicly, buy the damn stock. Buy the damn stock. He's telling you publicly, hey, look, this is what's going on. Right, it's public information. Talking about some insider trading. Like, oh my God, y'all need to be taken out back in Tiananmen Square for your ignorance. But anyway, like you said, NVIDIA, we get ready to build these supercomputers and AI with NVIDIA, who has a government contract. Hello? Hello, McFly. Hello? Hello? Now's your chance. Get in on the ground floor. I swear to God, I'll never forget. It was like after 2020, 2021, in my pro-black circles, and brothers was talking all this, anti-Trump stuff, and you had black men saying, what you talking about? Like, I made a lot of money when Trump was in office. Like, my stocks was cleaning up. That's what got me started investing in the stock market. I had black men who were saying they made money when Trump was in office. This is when Biden was in office in 21, 22. It was like, man, I cleaned up. I'm like, oh no, let me start. Everybody was worried about Bitcoin, but I was looking at stock. At any rate,
I knew it was going to happen, but not to the extent that it happened. It's big. And the reason they did it is because of the election on November 5th.
Yeah, he
and because of a thing called tariffs, as I say, the most beautiful word in the dictionary. After love, God, relationship. The press actually hit me and said, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. What about family, love, God? I got hit even on that. You understand? I said, okay. So now I say it's my fifth most favorite word.
Yeah, because I want to see what countries and what corporations are coming to America with those gold cards and see what their stocks are talking about.
Companies controls segments that nobody, sort of controls the world in a sense, and they're coming in here in the biggest way with hundreds of billions of dollars. Not like millions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and I'm honored by it. And I want to thank Jensen and all of the people that we deal with. They're great people. They're brilliant people. And without tariffs, they wouldn't be doing it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because I know I keep pausing. I know. But understand this is why I say you got to get rid of your democratic thinking. Because democratic thinking have you thinking that this is just the most horrible thing in the world. But these are corporations. This is not American Deli or the little Asian shop on the corner that sell you the chicken wings and the fries and the Philly steaks. They're not the ones paying $5 million to come in here to hire a couple of Mexicans to work the grill
and a Shaniqua to work the register. No, we're talking about multi-billion-dollar corporations. See, this just you have a lot of liquid black people and whites who think that everybody else outside the United States is just dirt poor, when that's not true. You have multi-billion-dollar corporations all over the freaking globe, all over the globe. They're the ones who, looking at the tariffs and trying to do their whole math. So you have these corporations that have billions of dollars, most of that money made right here in the United States from their imports. It'll be cheaper for them to come here, build a factory here, hire American workers. Therefore, they can sell their products in mass at a cheaper rate to more consumers, especially if what Trump's tariff plan. Let me explain this again, because I posted the video, but I see y'all didn't watch it. Trump's tariff plan is you create the ERS, the External Revenue Service, to where now the bulk of the money coming in isn't coming in from the American taxpayer, me and you, is coming in from other countries by the billions, by the billions, by the billions, by the billions, which is, of course, trillions and trillions of dollars. It's not going to be temporary. It's going to be until another president comes in and fucks everything up. But you're talking about trillions of dollars. This nation will be rich again. We sat up here for years and talked about the next 50 years of white supremacy. Well, this is it right here. But this isn't about white supremacy. This is just about global supremacy by the United States. And yes, it is a white country, but do you hear them talking about killing niggas? Like, no. Like, this guy ain't said nothing, not one single iota about black folks. Nobody in this cabinet has said anything about black folks, but do understand that when they start dealing with crime on the city, state, and local level, black folks is going to jail. Don't be misled. They just haven't gotten there yet. But all I can say is stop breaking the law, asshole. At any rate, this is all about money. With the tariffs coming in, what he wants to do, and he'll probably be able to do it at the end of come tax season next year, anybody making less than $150,000 a year, as far as their gross income, you won't have to pay income tax, which means you can buy more cheap shit that these countries who will have their corporations and their factories here, storefronts will start opening up more here. You can go out and buy shelves and books and, these little stupid buttons.
The news is fake.
You can buy these stupid buttons.
That was false and fake and never happened.
Yeah, you can buy more of these, little goofy little trinkets and whatnot that you think is cute. You'll have more money in your pocket, more money to invest. The cars will, be cheaper. A lot of stuff will be cheaper. The economy will be booming. The money will be circulating. Anybody that's making over 150K, you think that they won't be able to afford this little $12 cup? Because of taxes. You really think the taxes are going to be that high? You're giving the American poor, the American middle class, a leg up. Wait until the home prices start dropping. Because understand, the biggest thing that, in all honesty, what Trump really wants to do is really the whole World Trade Organization. He wants to freeze them out. He wants to make American they're here in America again. That is what's going to bring down energy prices, food prices, home prices, car prices, etc. Because they'll be made here. You're not going to be paying the taxes that the tariffs are going to bring in. This is called long-term visionary success. But a liquid will not understand that because they're short-sighted, they're small-minded. They're the type of people, like I say, there's two type of people in this world. If you're working for a job and they say, hey, look, I can give you $20 a day for the next 5 days at the end of your shift, or I can just give you $200 on Friday. You have a lot of people who are stupid enough to take that $20 a day at the end of their shift from Monday through Friday. That's only $100. Whereas if you just work and you get the $200, you just doubled your money. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's that simple. But you have a lot of people who are stupid enough to take that $20 every day. Because they're financially illiterate and greedy and selfish and self-centered and overall stupid. They are a liquid, a low IQ Democrat. And then they'll turn around and say, they ripping me off. They working me too hard. I'm going to burn down the boss's car. I'm going to shoot the boss in the back of the head when he leave the hotel going to get a Subway sandwich. And then you have morons with t-shirts with their faces printed on it. Tomorrow, some free Luigi.
Are you considering additional sanctions against Russia after their latest attack? And do you have an update on the rate and when you might announce some
Well, I already have sanctions on Russia. I put them there. If you remember,
hell yes, on background China.
The big pipeline that goes through Europe. I stopped it. That's Russia's pipeline, the largest pipeline, I think, in the world. Goes to Germany, and I stopped it. And when Biden came
I bet you they can get people now.
And then they say,
I bet you they can get people now.
Putin said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you when you're my enemy. I stopped the biggest economic job they ever had. I stopped at coal, right? It was dead. You know that, right? And Biden came in and he immediately approved it. What was that all about? And it's a pipeline that takes care of a lot of the needs. Now, it was a very controversial thing, but I stopped it and Biden approved it. Question?
On tariffs?
No, not you. Not
Pharmaceuticals, semiconductor tariffs.
Oh my God, he just be dissing Caitlin Collins. He hate her. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the next Carolyn Leavitt press conference. Because the last two she did were so calm, they were so smooth, she didn't have to strike anybody. But as I said, the court overruled the White House, said the AP, they have to let the Associated Press back into the White House. They were kicked out of the White House. Remember that guy asked that stupid question about tariffs? And she was like, I feel insulted that you even, she said, I wish I'd never asked you that question or whatever. When she sniped that fat dude, comes from, I'll pay a tariff. Like, dude, you're a fucking reporter. Shut up. You probably make $40,000 a year. Shut the hell up. Yeah. So that was the last time the AP, the Associated Press, was allowed in the White House. They revoked their access after that. First, they gave it back to them. Then they took it back shortly after. So they haven't been in there. And Caitlin Collins, I don't know where she's been, but she's been AOL the past couple of press conferences. So now I guess she must have been on vacation or something, but it looks like now she's back. She's back. And Trump is just eviscerating her. Oh, Katie Rue, please show up at the next Carolyn Leavitt press conference. Oh, I miss how she just puts her foot up your ass. I miss it. I miss it so.
I miss it so. Let's go back.
Question?
On tariffs.
No, not you. Not
Update today on potential semiconductor tariffs and potentially pharmaceuticals. Semiconductor tariffs and potentially some pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceuticals, we're gonna do, we don't make our own drugs, our own pharmaceuticals. We don't make our own drugs anymore. The drug companies are in Ireland and they're in lots of other places, China.
Matter of fact, let me check my crypto.
A tariff. The more, the faster they move in. The higher the tariff, it's inversely proportional. The higher the tariff, the faster they come. And yeah, we're going to be doing that. That's going to be like we have on cars. We have, as you know, a 25% tariff on cars. We have a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. And that's what that category fits right now.
Do you have a percentage in mind and a timeline?
I have a timeline, yeah, not too distant future. We're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things. And they're all coming in. We have record numbers, $7 trillion. Since I announced a month and a half ago,
and they trying to cut that down, Jibba.
Over $7 trillion being invested in the country.
They trying to cut that down.
$1 trillion.
Because we shouldn't be reliant on outside countries when it comes to our
So we have the
pharmaceuticals.
largest investment that we've ever heard of, and we're only 2 months in. And that'll continue
check
at
that.
levels that you've never seen before. It's going to happen. And even the stock market's up today. It's we also had, you know, we a lot of people didn't say it the way it was. We had the largest gain in the stock market in history on every single category last week. That was a nice game because we were getting a little hit because people didn't understand.
Yeah, India and China.
The power of our economic.
But
our
this is
country
what-
economically, if you use it right. Do you have something to say on that, Jay?
All right, so this is what they said. All right. United States imports a significant amount of pharmaceuticals, with India and China being the largest sources for generic drugs. These two countries dominate the supply chain for widely used medications like ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and penicillin. All right. Okay, so, you know, those are just like, you know, it's almost like aspirin. You know, so it's not like, oh, we'll die if we don't get them, because again, these same drugs that they make overseas, we can make right here. We have all the chemicals. I mean, this is the best scientists in the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So,
sir, I mean, look, for 40 years, we have lost manufacturing capacity. Workers have seen their wages stagnate. And some of the most critical things that we need, from the pharmaceuticals, the drugs that we give to our children, the antibiotics that we give to our
I've seen the
kids,
videos with they
weapons that we
feet and the
actually
rats
fight a
running
war.
around
If
and the
God forbid we
roaches.
had to
Oh.
fight a war, we don't make enough of that stuff. And so President Trump ran.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, I do those, I do their parties. Yeah, ibuprofen is the base for most painkillers. Yeah, I do their parties. So I'm in the kitchens. I literally go in the kitchens. I can see how they make. Oh, and by the way, this is what's funny. Not only do the Asians use illegal immigrants to cook their food, but so do the Indians. You ever go into an Indian restaurant, I'm telling you, work in them kitchens, here's a bunch of si senors. The feet, that part there, yeah. It's a bunch of si senors back there stirring the pot and flipping the meat and dicing the stuff up and cooking the noodles and washing the dishes. It's a lot of si senors that don't speak. I know habla inglés, working in the back of them Indian restaurants. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I swear to God, it's so funny. Asians and Indians hire illegals like it's crazy. Yeah, they won't hire their own. They'll hire their own to work the front of the house, but not the back. So, I mean, that's why, like, when I do these little parties, you know, at these restaurants, oh my God, I be crushing the food. I be crushing the food. Sometimes I come home with to-go plates or whatever. I be crushing it. Like this weekend, I worked the party. I had a plate The plate was overflowing with them little angel hair noodles and what I thought was meatballs, but they were vegetarian meatballs. But once I bit into it, I was like, oh, this is good, man. I cleaned that whole plate. I cleaned that whole plate. My stomach, I looked like I was 8 months pregnant. Let me tell you, man, them Mexican dudes, and you know, like they say, the best chefs are men. Yeah. I don't ever, when I go work in these parties and I'll be in the back of these people's kitchens or whatnot, no matter who they are, I never see a woman back there cooking. I always see men. And the majority of them that's back there cooking are Hispanics or South Americans, be they Mexican or whatever, but they are south of the borderlands that do not speak English, and them brothers be back there. They be cooking. They cook their asses off, okay? Okay, y'all go to them little Chinese restaurants or whatnot. Look in the back. Look behind the little square little door. Look back there and see who cooking. It won't be one of them, and it won't be one of us. It'll be a short little 5'2" guy with a hairnet and pimples on his face back there, stirring stuff up, flipping burgers. That's why my whole thing when it comes to the illegals, get the criminals out. But if you're an illegal and you're here and you're contributing to society, got a job, I don't agree with Trump telling them to get out and then reapply and come back. No, if they already here, give them a citizen. Like, look, if you already here, you're an illegal, come down to the courthouse. Okay, or if you're a corporation, you got them. Look, we got to fingerprint these people. We need to make sure that they're not wanted, here in the United States or abroad, their home countries. They have to have no criminal records. They need, we'll enroll them. They can take a free class. The government will pay for it. They can learn English at a little community college from 8 to 10 or whatever. Here's your little citizenship test book. Learn English. Learn some of our laws, our civics, and everything, whatnot. And then come back in 6 months, raise your hand at the courthouse, pass your test. You pass your test, you pass your citizenship test, we'll give you a fresh social security number. All right. One that'll identify you, not somebody's stolen social security number. You'll get your citizenship papers, and then you can work and be a contributing taxpayer / member to society. That way, when you get old and your money, you can retire here. But understand that a lot of these illegals, what they do, they come here, they work. Yeah, they pay their little paycheck taxes. That's nothing. But as far as regular taxes, like on April, that's due tomorrow, they don't pay that crap. They send their money back home to Mexico, and after 20 years, they go back home to mansions and manors and all of this stuff and whatnot. They be living good, and they retire because they've sent the bulk of their money back home. But if you get them here, you get them as United States citizens. You get them. Well, I mean, if the whole tariff thing works, you got the IRS, they won't be paying any taxes. So the money will be going out of the United States regardless. But the thing about it is that you'll be a legal citizen. You'll get a fair wage. You'll be forced to pay tax. Well, not, that's right. You won't even be forced to pay taxes, but at least you'll get paid a living wage. Us as American citizens will also be competing with them with wages, but with all of these warehouse jobs and whatnot, all of these corporations that's flooding into America now, the jobs will be plentiful. So it won't even really matter, because what are the majority of the jobs that they're going to work? Cooking, construction, laundry, agriculture. All right. What else? What's it called? The gardening, the roofing. You understand? They already have their little cottage industry that they're already a part of. They're going to stay in that cottage industry. You understand? They're going to stay in that cottage industry. But the thing is, us as Americans, we can expand past that cottage industry. It'll be so, the growth of that market will be so high that we won't even feel it. We won't even feel it. But yeah, don't let them leave. Make them stay here. Make them take the test. Keep tabs on them, and make them get them their fair wages. But
but at least make them legal. So that way they can stop robbing the Social Security and Medicaid system with these free checks that they shouldn't have. Get them off the welfare rolls that they shouldn't be on. You know, get them to be citizens. Get them to be documented. That'll help the economy. Plus, it'll also provide security and safety for the country. Because if you're an illegal and you out here, you get into a situation, you can bust somebody up in the head and then go hide because they don't know who you are. They don't know where you work or anything like that. But if there's genetic markers, oh, okay, so this car, because you're a legal citizen and you got into this car crash and we have a copy of your plate, yeah, we can come right to the trailer park and arrest your ass. You know what I'm saying? And make you pay for it. There is no deportation. You rotting right here in American prison for 5 years. You understand? You're gonna pay for that instead of being able to escape with it. But what do I know?
Explicit on changing that. Yes, as the president mentioned, it caused a little bit of disruption in the market.
Pretty
But
much.
I actually think over the long term, workers are going to benefit, stocks are going to go up, American businesses are going to benefit as we reinvest and reindustrialize our country.
And the auto workers and the Teamsters and all of the unions, you know, not traditionally Republican, but I'm winning those unions by, we're up 40, 50 points on the Democrats. They're losing everything. They're losing everything because they just have policies that are not believable.
They don't have any
fight for policies that are 5% popular, and nobody knows who
They're
the
still trying to
5% are. I mean,
push
nobody-
homosexuality and
If you go back to
shit.
Ohio, and by the way, we have the great championship team from Ohio.
That cost them the election.
Right?
They still pushing the
And,
stuff
that's
that
gonna be a
cost
little
them
bit
the
later.
election.
And that'll be, if you want to stick around, I'll introduce you to some measure. You'll see some very large people, right? You see some people that even you have not seen people like this. These are big, these are 6'7", 380 pounds with no fat. Okay, that's pretty good, right? But the team, the national championship team is being honored today.
Woohoo, OSU.
You want to stay around? I'll have you up there. You can tell them all about your prison, how you have to behave. Okay. Who else?
On electronics.
Yeah, you said yesterday that you're making a decision on Iran very quickly. What do you mean by that? Is that a decision to strike Iran?
Solve their problem very quickly. Iran wants to deal with us, but they don't know how. They really don't know how. We had a meeting with them on Saturday. We have another meeting scheduled next Saturday. I said, that's a long time. You know, that's a long time. So I think they might be tapping us a lot. But Iran has to get rid of the concept of a nuclear weapon. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. He can't have a nuclear weapon. Nobody can have, we can't have anybody having nuclear weapons, you know? We can't have nuclear weapons. And I think they're
First
tapping
weapon
us
in the
along
world is a
because
nuclear.
we're so used to dealing with stupid people in this country. And I had Iran perfect. You had no attacks. You would have never had October 7th in Israel, the attack by Hamas, because Iran was broke. They were stone cold broke when I was president. And I don't want to do it. I want them to be a rich, great nation. The only thing is, one thing, simple. It's really simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And they got to go fast because they're fairly close to having one. And they're not going to have one. And if we have to do something very harsh, we'll do it. And I'm not doing it for us, I'm doing it for the world. And these are radicalized people, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Does that include a potential strike on Iranian nuclear facilities?
Of course it does.
And just a follow-up question, a clarification. You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador. Does that include potentially U.S. citizens fully naturalized?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn, yeah, that includes them. What do you think? There's a special category of person? They're as bad as anybody that comes in. We have bad ones too. And I'm all for it because we can do things with the president for less money and have great security. And we have a huge prison population. We have a huge number of prisons, and then we have the private prisons, and some are operated well, I guess, and some aren't. But he does a great job with that. We have others that we're negotiating with too. But no, if it's a homegrown criminal,
Crazy on
I
something.
have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And I'm talking about violent people. I'm talking about really bad people. Really bad people. Every bit as bad as the ones coming in. And I made the statement when I heard about this a long time ago now, 4 years ago. When I heard that this guy was having open borders, I said every single criminal from all over the world is going to be dumped into our country. And that's what happened. The jails of the Congo were emptied out. The jails of Venezuela were emptied out. And you know what happened? Their crime went way down. But now Venezuela has other problems. You know what the problem is? They have no money there because I shut off their oil and we put secondary tariffs because they're not doing what's right over there. They know what to do.
That's why he's here.
They know what to do. But they have no money. Venezuela has no money. But Iran had no money. And Iran behaved so
crazy,
beautifully.
Jimmy.
And then Biden took all those secondary tariffs and tariffs on. I told China, you can't buy oil. If you buy oil from Iran, China, I told it to President Xi, then we no longer want you to do business with the United States of America. And those ships disappeared from that harbor so quickly. China, get along great with China.
Are the talks with Iran productive? Do you want to continue that? The talks with Iran, do you believe those are productive? Do you want to continue that?
I think Iran could be a great country as long as it doesn't have nuclear weapons.
In the
If they have nuclear weapons, they'll never get a chance to be a great country. They'll never get a chance. It won't even come close.
He actually took a question from Katie.
Yesterday, you mentioned short-lived product exemptions. Which specific products are you considering, and how long is short-lived? Weeks, months?
I'm looking at something to help some of the car companies with it. They're switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places. And they need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here.
The Falcon
But
named
they need a little bit
Iglesias.
of time. So I'm
You
talking
guys
about
hear
things
this?
like that.
What about any Apple products on cell phones?
Look, I'm a very flexible person. I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible. And you have to be. You just can't have a wall and you'll only.
What would you name a Jaguar?
Around it, under it, or above it. There'll be maybe things coming up. I speak to Tim Cook. I helped Tim Cook recently, and that whole business. I don't want to hurt anybody, but the end result is we're going to get to the position of greatness for our country. We're the greatest economic power in the world if we're smart. If we're not smart, we're going to hurt our country very badly. We lost with China over the Biden years trillions of dollars on trade, trillions of dollars. And he let them fleece us. And we can't do that anymore. And you know what? I don't blame China at all. I don't blame President Xi. I like him. He likes me. I mean, who knows? Who the hell cares?
Do you have any updates on?
But you know what? What?
Baby.
Let me just tell you this. I don't blame China. I don't blame Vietnam. I see their meeting today. Is that wonderful? That's a lovely meeting. They're meeting, like trying to figure out how do we screw the United States of America. Don't forget, the European Union was formed to do just that. The European Union was formed to hurt the United States and on trade.
Yeah, because what's going on with China and Vietnam? China is trying to move their products to Vietnam and then sell their products, move their products from Vietnam to the United States because of the tariffs. They also tried to dump a lot of their products. China tried to dump a lot of their products into the UK. But the UK is like, what? The size of Texas? There's nothing there. They don't have the income. Plus, everything that's going, look, the UK is getting ready to have an economic collapse. They're already collapsing socially. The government is turned against its very own citizens in favor of Muslims because they elected all these Muslims into office, which is very, very stupid because everybody knows that Muslims, they come in as an invading force. They're like cockroaches. I know y'all thinking about the American Muslims, assalamu alaikum, brother. No, not them. I mean the ones in the Middle East. They are an invading force. They're like cockroaches. They come in, they enact Sharia law and destroy your whole country, just like Iran. That's what's going on in the UK and parts of Germany, but mainly the UK. The UK is falling. They're getting ready to collapse economically, socially, and government. They're getting ready to collapse. So China trying to dump all of their products into the UK to make up for what they're losing in tariffs to the United States is not working. It's not working. So now they're also trying to go through, other Southeast Asian countries, trying to move their product into the US, but it's not working because Trump is like, this is y'all stuff. We're not accepting y'all stuff. We know exactly what you make as opposed to what Vietnam makes. No.
And they get us on NATO because they don't pay their bills. But now, since I got involved, they have been paying their bills. I took in over $600 billion for NATO. Nobody took in anything. I mean, they were all delinquent. They had 8 nations out of 28 paid their bills. The rest of them were way delinquent. And I said, if you don't pay your bills, we're not going to protect you anymore. And the money poured in over 600. The Secretary General last week made that statement. He said, I've never seen anything like it. We couldn't get anybody to pay because the United States was footing the bill for NATO. Well, we got hurt there, and we got hurt on trade, likewise, European Union. And they've got to come to the table, and they're trying to. But the European Union has taken terrible advantage. They don't take our food products. They don't take our cars. We have millions of their cars, BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, many others. They come in by the millions. There are no Chevrolets in Munich, I can tell you that. I said to Angela Merkel when she was there, as she was letting millions of people infiltrate Germany, which was not so good we would call them illegal immigrants, but she made them legal. But I said to her, and I get along with her very well, I said, how many Chevrolets do we have in Munich or Frankfurt? Why? None, Donald, none. I said, you're right. And yet we take in millions and millions of cars. No, those days are over.
How long
Okay.
do you think the exemption?
Yeah, see, that's the thing right there. Like, this is why J.D. Vance, a month or so ago when he was in Munich, he told them, hey, look, y'all need to get y'all stuff together politically, economically, socially. You need to close your borders. You need to get these rapists, murderers, criminals out of your country like we're doing. You need to do what the United States is doing, not what BlackRock and George Soros is telling you to do. You need to do what we're doing. And they was like, the hell with you. So, as Trump was saying, like he said, well, you know what? Because if it wasn't for us, NATO wouldn't exist. So we're done protecting you. You're on your own. This is why when Zelensky called himself going to the UK and the UN talking about, oh, we need protections, they like, everything we get from the United States, and they cut you off, and now with the tariffs thing, they definitely cut us off. So I mean, we got some slingshots and some, and some 9mm from 1865. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, bro. We got some airplanes with the rubber. You do the propellers and throw it and it fly. We got those. I mean, what you want us to do? They screwed. Oh, the Eastern European, the whole EU bloc over there, they are screwed. They are screwed. Donald Trump put his foot on their necks. He put his foot on the world's neck. Everybody's screwed. You either pay up or you out there on your own, bruh.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you on your own. Turn right into theocracies, right? Make a better car. I'm just saying. Not Uncle Sam, but Daddy Sam. World War II surplus. Right. They out there
They out there on their own. Now, I wanted to get into China. Understand.
做外贸的天堂了。我们在
I tell you what, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna let this play. Y'all can find out, y'all can see just how bad China is doing because of the tariffs. All right. I'm not gonna stop it. I'm just gonna let it play. But understand all these people on TikTok with their little Temu shops and everything, they are suffering. Let's go.
The sky has collapsed for those of us in foreign trade. Here in Keqiao, a lot of people are in the textile export business, including many who run their own factories. I used to think that for ordinary people like us, a trade war wouldn't really have much of an impact. But now that I think about it, something doesn't feel right. We run a beauty salon, and our clients come here to relax and enjoy themselves. Most of them are doing pretty well in local business. But over the past couple of days, I've noticed that my clients have all been sighing heavily. I asked them what was wrong. They said they run raw material factories, and they just brought in several tons of goods. Before they could even react, they lost between 500,000 to 800,000 yuan, just like that, in a blink of an eye. Another client also said they have no idea what to do now. They don't even know if they can hold on until the end of the month. I said, how could it be this serious? Sometimes I wonder what's really going on with this country. I just feel like life is really hard for ordinary people.
I came to the yard today to check on these stranded containers. It's over. Our company has 10 containers stuck here too. See these containers? They're all ours.
The people posting the video said that the tariff war has caused tens of thousands of pieces of clothing to be stuck at the port, and the business owner is preparing to clear out the inventory. He said in his live stream that for just a few hundred yuan, people can buy export goods worth thousands of yuan. The US-China tariff war has left the Chinese foreign trade industry in despair, and the Chinese government's retaliation continues unabated. In the latest round of retaliatory measures on April 11th, China raised the tariffs on imports originating from the US from 84% to 125%, while also stating that it will not impose further tariff retaliation on the US. On the surface, it seems like a tit-for-tat retaliation by China, but in reality, their stance has softened considerably. Earlier on April 6, Chinese state media still boasted that the sky will not fall, but now it has shifted to helping businesses maintain trade with the US as much as possible. Currently, most analysis suggests that this round of tariffs could lead to a decoupling of US-China trade. But this view has hardly garnered any response on Chinese internet platforms. The CCP authorities, besides blaming the US, are extremely cautious about using the term decoupling. This reveals that China is very reluctant to leave the European and American trade circles. For the past 20 years, this economy, one that has never fully reformed its economic and political systems in line with WTO requirements, has enjoyed ample trade freedom and privileges, rapidly increasing its wealth and completing a massive wealth transfer. Taiwanese defense expert Su Ziyun noted that China's total trade surplus last year exceeded $1 trillion, with Europe and the US accounting for $550 billion of that. This amount is equivalent to China's defense budget, which is like China using money earned from the US to invest in its military. However, the CCP also sees that Trump's approach is different from past ones. It is no longer just about addressing the US-China trade deficit, but fundamentally adjusting China's economic structure, something the Chinese government cannot bear, pushing them to resort to confrontation. Some experts say that the CCP has actually prepared a retaliation list hidden within a white paper, which also contains a fear list of potential US retaliations. If the US-China trade war continues to escalate, the CCP might retaliate according to this list, but the US still has many unused leverage and strategies. On April 9th, the CCP State Council Information Office released a white paper on US-China economic and trade relations, claiming it was to clarify the facts. The white paper mentioned that the US is the largest source of China's service trade deficit, mainly in the areas of travel, education, intellectual property usage fees, and transportation service. Another major component of the white paper is the Phase 1 trade agreement between China and the US, which China claims it is seriously implementing. The largest section of the white paper is dedicated to accusing the US of unilateralism and protectionism through 8 actions. Professor Henry Gao, a tenured professor at Singapore Management University's law school, posted on X that this white paper is not aimed at clarifying the facts as the Chinese government claims. He said, It's a retaliation wish list and a catalog of Beijing's deepest trade fears. Professor Gao believes that most of the items on the retaliation list target the service industry, including banning U.S. service exports, stopping intellectual property protection for U.S. companies, forced technology transfers, banning U.S. food and agricultural products, limiting access to China's financial market, and devaluing the yuan. The fear list of potential U.S. retaliation mainly includes 8 charges against the U.S., including abolishing most favored nation status, trade and investment restrictions under national security grounds, expanding export controls, tariffs under Section 301, Section 232 investigations, using trade relief tools, and reciprocal tariffs. Some Chinese people have analyzed that China's trade confrontation with the U.S. has a major disadvantage. The substitutability of products between the two countries is not equal. The U.S. imports approximately $439 billion worth of goods from China, most of which can be sourced from alternative suppliers, and other countries are more than willing to fill the gap.
Exactly.
The top 5 categories of goods China exports to the U.S., as listed by the Chinese government, are electrical equipment, accounting for 24%, machinery at 17.6%, furniture and bedding, accounting for 6%, toys, games, and sports products, accounting for 5%, and plastic products, accounting for 4.5%.
Garbage.
China will attempt to increase re-exports to the U.S. through third parties, like Southeast Asia, but this route has already been targeted by the U.S. The top 2 categories, electrical equipment and machinery, cannot simply be relabeled and shipped as before. If Chinese companies move these production lines to Southeast Asia, the logistics effort is difficult, and the losses will be significant. Many factories will be left idle or scrapped, and large numbers of workers will lose their jobs. Training a large pool of similar technical workers in Southeast Asia will not be achieved overnight. The most crucial point is that Trump can adjust reciprocal tariffs at any time, making it difficult for third-party countries to assist China in relabeling country of origin. The latest signal from Trump is that while China may try to relabel goods in other countries, Chinese products will still have a product fingerprint that cannot be erased. Vietnam has confirmed that it will unhesitatingly abandon China to embrace the U.S. China imports approximately $143.5 billion worth of goods from the United States, some of which can be sourced from alternative suppliers, but others are difficult to replace. The top 5 categories of goods imported by China from the U.S., according to the Chinese government, are mineral fuels, accounting for 14%, machinery, accounting for 12%, electrical equipment, accounting for 11%, optical, photographic, or surgical instruments, accounting for 7.8%, and oilseeds, accounting for 7.7%. High-end electrical and mechanical equipment, including medical instruments and other such products from the
Okay, that right there. Yeah, you heard that from a liquid. The working age will always be 16. That's like set in stone because of child labor laws. So, you know, whoever told you that is definitely a liquid.
The United States are indispensable for China. In practice, China might privately exempt tariffs or purchase through third parties, but at a higher price. China may not directly buy U.S. energy and agricultural products, but could still acquire them through third countries, again with added costs. China has suspended orders for U.S. aircraft, but still requires parts for maintenance. Similarly, China must purchase U.S. specialty vehicles, pharmaceuticals, seeds, and certain chemicals. The result of both sides' unwillingness to ease tariffs is that China's direct exports to the U.S. may quickly decrease or even cease, leading to rapid economic decoupling. However, it is much harder for China to completely stop imports from the U.S. U.S. economist Davy J. Huang stated that the structure of the white paper is quite unique. Instead of focusing on countermeasures, it meticulously lists 8 charges against the U.S., proving that the U.S. actually benefits. He believes that this is mainly for internal propaganda, telling the Chinese public that the party and its leaders didn't make mistakes, but rather it was the U.S. that made errors. It claims to deliver the message that the U.S. has been profiting from the Chinese people, justifying any future retaliation. Wang pointed out that according to Beijing's language, the retaliation list strongly suggests that these are the weaknesses of the U.S. that can be countered. At the same time, the fear list reflects Beijing's greatest concern, that the U.S. will continue to intensify its attacks and deep dive into these areas. He believes that this white paper is not intended for negotiation. Rather, it serves as a pressure response framework and a preparation document for potential conflict. As the tariff war has reached a certain point where imposing additional tariffs has become meaningless, some scholars argue that if the US-China trade war continues to spiral downward, China's retaliation measures may target the US service sectors, which have the largest trade surplus with China. Economic scholar He Qinglian believes that further discussions on tariff wars are futile, and the main battleground has already shifted to the service industry. In fact, on April 8th, the WeChat public account Niu Tanqing, which has ties to Xinhua News Agency, reported that China has prepared at least 6 countermeasures against the US, some of which involve sanctions on US service industries. Given that US intellectual property firms have gained significant monopolistic profits in China, authorities are researching the possibility of investigating these situations. Additionally, measures include restricting US companies from participating in procurement and limiting business cooperation in areas such as legal consulting. Wang stated that Niu Tanqing, as a semi-official media outlet, is often used to shape public opinion and test reactions, while avoiding responsibility if issues arise. He also noted that investigating US intellectual property rights firms would be very costly for China and would have limited impact, as China relies heavily on US intellectual property, such as the Windows system. Regarding the sanctions list in the white paper, Wang noted that the US has not yet acted on options such as 1. Decoupling securities, delisting all Chinese stocks listed in the US, 2. Prohibiting all securities and financial bonds related to China from issuing or settling in US dollars, 3. A tech blockade, including software and US semiconductor sales, 4. Decoupling and talent exchange, with strict visa limitations on students and researchers. 5. Freezing assets, virus origin investigations, and international joint sanctions, which would approach acts of war. Su Ziyun stated that if tensions escalate, it will be clear that the US holds the upper hand, as it controls the market and has the leverage in negotiations with 75 countries. China might attempt to seek other markets or create non-US trade agreements, but this would not be highly advantageous, as China is heavily export dependent. He further noted that the US will have the advantage, particularly with its technological leadership. Analysts from China have indicated that Xi Jinping is seriously preparing for a real war with the United States, as he has no way out. However, the domestic elite class does not want this, and they still dream of enjoying their lives in Western countries. Xi faces significant resistance from within the domestic elite. His trusted confidants are being taken down one by one, making it seem as though his power is unstable. The recent resignation of Tianning from her position as the head of the China Writers Association has drawn particular attention. Tianning is rumored to be Xi Jinping's mistress. In the Chinese political system, a mistress falling from grace typically signals the imminent downfall of the official involved. Chinese political commentator Li Dayu has raised the question of why Tianning never married into the Xi family. It is rumored that there are 2 reasons for this. One is that Tianning's father opposed the marriage, believing that the children of high-ranking officials are unreliable. The other reason is that Tianning's character is too artistic. In recent years, there have been few reports online regarding Xi Jinping's private life. Xi has consistently tried to cover up his past. A few years ago, a bookstore planned to publish a book about Xi Jinping's romantic history, but the owner and employees of the bookstore mysteriously disappeared, and a Swedish bookseller was even abducted across borders to China.
Damn.
Chinese political commentator Li Yanming believes that the recent events, including inspections of the China Federation of Literary and Art Circles and the Chinese Writer Associations, which were led by Tianning, show signs of Xi Jinping's weakening power. After the inspections, the party secretary of the Federation was replaced, and Tianning unexpectedly resigned as the head of the Chinese Writers Association. Senior members of the China Dance Association were also purged. Another significant signal of Xi Jinping's weakening position is the rumored investigation into He Weidong, a close ally of Xi and vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. The Financial Times reported on April 10th, citing 5 knowledgeable sources, including current and former U.S. officials, that He Weidong has been removed from his position in recent weeks. A 6th source confirmed that He is no longer serving in the role, and one source mentioned that He Weidong has been under interrogation by the authorities since his detention. Neil Thomas, an expert on Chinese elite politics at the Asia Society Policy Institute, noted that He Weidong will be the first sitting vice chairman of the Central Military Commission to be removed since He Long in 1967. Some Chinese people have commented that if He Weidong is in trouble, just like Xi Jinping's other trusted aides that have been investigated, the said reason will likely be corruption, but in reality, it is the result of internal power struggles within the Chinese Communist Party, and a sign of Xi Jinping's declining influence. Earlier, there were reports suggesting that Xi Jinping's control over the military had weakened, with Military Commission Vice Chairman Zhang Youxia gaining real power with the support of CCP leaders, and it is likely that Zhang is the one orchestrating the purge of Xi's inner circle. The power struggle between Xi and opposing forces is also reflected in the rapid shift in the direction of domestic media propaganda. After the trade war began, Chinese merchants launched white enamel cups labeled with commemorative cup for participation in the reciprocal war, which became a hot item on major online platforms, but later it was suddenly removed. The white enamel cup is a nostalgic Chinese item, often paired with text or patterns. In recent years, these cups have been repurposed as retro-style decorative items. Some businesses have transformed these cups into cultural products with creative designs and text, which have become quite popular in the market. With the CCP adopting an approach of immediate retaliation, some customized goods stores on Chinese e-commerce platforms like Taobao, Pinduoduo, and Douyin began selling items with reciprocal tariff slogans, including enamel cups, mugs, and t-shirts. Many Chinese people shared these images on social media. The text on these enamel cups was mostly the same. Some added China-US at the beginning, some included April 2025 at the end, and others featured a design of the two countries' flags clashing with each other, symbolizing the start of the trade war. However, many people reported that after 2 p.m. on April 10th, these items were suddenly removed from sale, with no clear reason provided. Some speculated that this might have been the result of government intervention.
Of course.
So far, the CCP has not shown any signs of backing down in the tariff confrontation with the US. This is clearly not the direction desired by the CCP elite and other vested interests, and demonstrates that Xi Jinping currently holds the dominant position in the intense internal power struggle. Even though CCP elders and elites may want to compromise with the US, no one dares to be the first to step forward as a representative of the surrender faction, because in the CCP bureaucracy, that would be self-destruction. Opposing forces will only work behind the scenes to undermine or weaken Xi's power, waiting for his downfall to then collectively seize the opportunity. This is the political ecosystem of the CCP. As for what will happen next, many Chinese people think that it is highly likely a real decoupling between China and the US will begin, and China's economy will continue to decline. During this process, Xi Jinping will undoubtedly try to hold on to the last resort, the hot war button, because that is his lifeline to threaten all other forces. But will he be able to hold on to it? If he loses his composure and presses the hot war button, he may find that hot war is not really an option.
Yeah, you don't want to try the United States, because I'm gonna tell you right now, the first thing that's gonna happen is that everybody, just like they're kicking out all of the Palestinians and whatnot that participated in those college riots. All right, they revoking their visas, their citizenships, and all that stuff, and kicking those people out. They'll do the same thing to the Chinese citizens that are here on student visas and temporary citizenship statuses and whatnot. They'll remove you. I mean, you want to cry about the Japanese internment camps. Like, we won't even encamp you, not for long. We'll round your ass up and we'll put your asses on flights headed towards China or the nearest country thereof, and they can come and pick your ass up. If you really want to get into a freaking physical war about it. But the best thing for China to do, because they are suffering badly. I mean, the US market is the only thing that's really sustaining them, even with those percentages. But do understand, it's what what we take in from them, what they export to us is what sustains their economy, which is really what they sell us junk that we really do not need. Junk that we do not need. We were doing them a favor. Bill Clinton opened the door for them in order for them to become a financial superpower. But in all honesty, Trump can shut that door real quick. They're the only ones that's trying to play games with these tariffs,
And you know what? They can play the games all they want to. That's their economy, not ours. If you say he looks like Winnie the Pooh in China, you may disappear. They're clapping like their lives depend on it because it does. But you know, we'll see how it goes. We're still under nuclear threat. It's still supposed to be imminent, you know, according to people that like the conspiracy theory into the future. So we'll see what happens. Oh, I got a new intro, a new exit. Not the one I played the other day, but I got a brand new exit video. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it in the comments below. Peace out.
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can
one.
I ask you a question about
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House has not
You don't.
responded to
I told you. CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question.
Mr. President, I have
because Trump bad. Trump bad.
All right, bye. Thanks for the fun.